Yes, for sure. All right, I think. All right, Jungle, we're here. We're live. We're in Miami. We do have the one and only Dan Jungleman Cates, the all-time biggest online poker cash game winner. Dan, how's it going?
Uh, Online, right? You said.
Online,
Okay,
online winner.
Okay.
Yeah, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Good.
Happy to be here in Miami.
Very,
In this a very nice. Would you call it like a condo?
office condo.
Yeah, office. Of course.
Yeah, it's in a condo like feeling. But so tell us, Miami. How many times you been to Miami? Is this one of the first? Is this a yearly thing? What brought you to Miami? Give me a little. Well, give me a little bit.
Well, I wanted to check out Miami and I wanted to hang out with you a little bit. The legendary PBF.
PBF, we'll take it, man. We're here. We're in the flesh. Literally, an honor for you to be here. This might be the easiest podcast I'll ever do because I put out a question list yesterday, similar to Rob Young. So many questions, so we could literally spend hours answering the questions alone that people have asked. But I got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. Obviously, those that don't know you are a high stakes cash game player. You also have a solid tournament resume for not playing many tournaments, over $6 million in live earnings. But how would you say your breakdown is versus cash games to tournament? I mean, you're probably 95 plus or 90 something percent cash game.
Maybe a little bit less than that. No, actually, maybe like 90-10 or something, like 90% cash games and like 10% tournament, something for sure, it could be 85-15.
In that range. So primarily dominating cash games is your preference. Give us a. So we're gonna get to all the questions, but let's talk a little bit about. I always find it interesting how people got into poker because I know I lived in Maryland for 7 years. You went to University of Maryland. You grew up in Maryland. Talk to me a little bit about your early experience. What got you into poker? When did you first start playing? And how did that kind of look? Like, what year was it roughly? Like, how did you first enter into the poker world?
It depends a little bit on what the poker world is. But my very first start was just like with friends that played video games online. Played like play money on Poker Stars or something. And that's where I made my Poker Stars nickname from that.
Jungleman, where did that come from?
The Jungleman was from a little bit later. Sometime afterward, I played in high school using like little pieces of paper torn up as chips.
Okay.
For like $10 or whatever. And then Jungleman came from when I was 17, I think. Mm-hmm. I played live, and I played at random home games in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., with some like kids from the neighborhood or whatever. And what I thought was big stakes at the time, like 50, 100, 100, 200, for like $100, I thought was like a big deal back then.
Wait, 50 as in 50 cents a dollar.
50 cents a dollar.
You got to specify now that you're playing 50, 100 plus, no limit. You got to So 50.
Yeah,
you're playing
really
like $100 buy-ins or $50 buy-ins.
Yeah, something like that. And the name Jungleman came from back then when I played. It was a bit hairier. My hair was quite a bit longer, and I don't know, they thought I was kind of crazy, so they called me Jungleman just because it was a funny name.
Jungleman Dan. It's got a nice ring to it. That is your Instagram name, I believe now, right? Or
yeah.
Jungleman Dan. It's kind of what people know you as in the poker world. So you start playing there. When did you say, all right, this is the real deal? Like, before you started playing a little, you were probably naturally good at games, I would guess. Like,
yeah.
you had a gravity to a knack for it. I mean, that's how a lot of, I think, poker players start playing video games, board games, and then they started playing a little poker, and they already had some savvy, some sense. Did you kind of, was it quick, like overnight, like within a week or two, were you like, oh wow, I can do this for a living, or did it take? What was the progression like where you kind of realized this was going to be, you were going to become a really successful poker player?
Well, when I first played, it fucking sucked. When I was 17, I lost something like $5,000 at 50 cent, $1, $1, $2, whatever.
Okay.
I had some money saved up. I wasn't really using it for that, so I was stupidly tried to play a little bit too big. I should have started out playing $10 buttons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember it took me about 6 months to make all that money back. And then what happened was I made like $2,000 or something. That was kind of cool at the time. I thought, oh, I'm making money now. Playing $25 that goes online, playing, and being up $2,000 seemed pretty cool. And then I won a tournament for $5,000. That was pretty exciting. That was probably one of the most exciting things, actually, for me.
Because tournaments are different than cash game. Tournament, you get the result. There's like there's a thing. Cash games is kind of one of those things. You don't always see that. Like people don't know about it, but when you win a tournament, your family, your friends know. People, you kind of like, all right, yeah, I made money from poker. So that's kind of cool in that sense, right?
Well, it wasn't like a big tournament. It was like a $25 buy-in, and the first place got $5,000.
But still, it's a lot of entries then for only 25.
Oh yeah, it was like a big tournament. No one really knew about it, but it was like the time when my bankroll jumped by like 5,000 plus like 250. No, yeah, 250%, right?
Yeah, that's definitely significant. Is that so then was there ever was there resistance from the family? Was this kind of like you were just always doing this? Did you have other jobs before? Were you doing any kind of side stuff, or was it literally you got in high schoolish time and just always played poker?
That's a bit of an interesting story. So first of all, when I was losing about $5,000 playing home games or whatever, live home games, there was definitely some resistance.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my grandma told me I couldn't play poker because I didn't know how to bluff or something, and
your grandma told you didn't know how to bluff.
Yeah.
Is she still with us today?
Yeah, she's quite old, but.
But does she know the legend of Jungleman Dan? Does she know you got bluffs in you now or no? Like does she know?
I think she knows. Yeah.
She knows you can get it done.
My parents didn't like it at that point, but I did have some jobs. What's the word? Notoriously, I had McDonald's for 1 month.
Okay.
I was paid $7 an hour, and I made $1,000. That was like the hardest $1,000 I ever made.
Wow, that's Jungle. Pause for 1 sec. Why don't you actually answer one of these questions real quick? Just because we got Postmates ordered. Jungle hasn't eaten breakfast. We got so let me just. Why don't you look? Actually, we'll just go for someone's at the door. Let me get that. Let me Dan answer a question. How about this one? Dan, what do you think about short deck poker? Do you think it can be more popular than online poker and hold'em? We'll take one of these questions here.
I don't think short deck poker can be as more popular than online poker than full deck hold'em poker. It can be pretty popular though, and it's been growing in popularity for the past 18 months, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. It's crazier than PLO. It's simpler. I think it's less intuitive, but it's supposed to be simpler than full deck hold'em. What else can I say about short deck? It's been growing in popularity. It'll be around for a decent amount of time. I think it's a decent game.
Decent game. And how would you break up your time right now between short deck, no limit, and mixed games? Like what sort of the percentage would you give it a rough estimate?
Maybe something like almost entirely short deck and mixed games, but within mixed games there's no limit hold'em and PLO to some extent. And when you think about other games, it helps a little bit when you're thinking you can like revisit it at least. Yeah, you like revisit no limit hold'em and PLO and think, oh wait, because of this in this game, maybe this should be changed in these games and whatever. So it actually helps a little bit when you're thinking about like all the games. To some extent, that's true. It's not. I mean, if you really want to learn a game, you still need to like study very hard or whatever.
Right.
If you want to learn a game like super well to play again in like the toughest lineups or something. But yeah, I'm mostly playing short deck and 8 game.
And all right, so
mixed games, whatever.
We got our food delivered here. So let me just we'll take a lot of questions, guys. Dan's going to be giving away $309 tickets. There's the Power Fest going on right now. So at the end of the show, guys, if you ask one of the questions and you retweet right now, you are eligible. We'll draw 3 winners for that, but we'll take those questions later. I kind of want to just pick Dan's brain and talk about because I know a little bit about the I don't know if you call it legacy or that kind of your history, but like stuff like you're mentioning, I don't even know about, which is pretty cool. I didn't know you worked at McDonald's for a month. Like you said, at the hard $1,000 to earn, so you did kind of get in there and realize that maybe wasn't the path for you. That must have been, how hard was it like working there and like because you had already got the poker bug then, right? So you're probably in there like what the fuck? I'm serving burgers or I'm doing something when I wanted. What was your actual job? Were you the cashier? Were you in the
No,
back?
I was the guy who put the stuff in the bags. Like literally like what I did. Was they'd have like an order, they'd put it up on where you could see like a monitor or something, and you would have to like put the order inside the bag that that the chefs or whatever were making. They were making the patties or the fries and stuff, and you just literally, that's what you did.
So, but you were just thinking about rolled up aces over kings, right? You were ready, you wanted to play poker, I'm sure. At that
I was
point.
thinking about when I'm going to get out of there. I thought I could do that and go to school. I was going to school at the same time or around that time, but it was summer break, and while doing that, I realized there's no fucking way I could do those two things and play poker. So I had to quit. I only did it for 1 month for those reasons.
And you were gone, so there was no more McDonald's. So then you get out of McDonald's, you start playing online. Like, what was the moment where you started win? So you're down 5,000. You hit a tournament, score $25 for some money that's significant. But then was it just kind of like, was it one day like you just took off and like you literally never looked back? Do you remember a period of time where there was like a week or 2 week period where it was just like, oh, this is it, like where you just like lifted off? Like, is there a moment where that happened?
Sort of. I'm trying to think. I would say that I gained a lot of traction after that tournament because I bought like a car runner subscription, and there was like a point where I was like an intern that was paid $17 an hour, and literally I did nothing all day. I made $2,000 for that job for like over like a month and a half or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the meantime, I was playing $2, $4, and I made like $8,000 or something in that meantime. I forget what amount, but it was a lot more than what I made.
Significant. You were like,
in the internship, and that was the last time I had a real job.
And how old were you then?
I was 18, I think, and by the end of that year, I was playing 10-20, and it made like $100,000 or something like that.
And that was primarily live or online? That was online at this time?
That was all online. All this was online.
Okay.
I didn't play live poker really after the first period until I was like 20 or 21 years old. No, 20, a little bit 20 years old, I would say, actually. I played some when I was 20 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm 29.
29 years young. So 29 years old, you get on a heater, you start playing, you're playing online primarily, and then when did like the real surge? Like, when did you hit your first kind of milestone? Like, where you like really took off? Like, because I mean, you're known as I'd say you, Isildur, Tom Dwan are like the three kind of, who else could you throw? Ben Sauce, or maybe who else is kind of in that online like cash game back in the days when it was just like, you know, it was crazy, like just every day there's massive games everywhere, and it was who else were some of the big winners or really tough players?
Back in the days or like now?
I'd say back for like the back in like the prime before all this, like I guess before what, 2011 or 2000? When would, I guess, give us like the online poker? There's a 2006 UIGEA. That's when that like party poker shut down in the U.S. because of London Stock Exchange. So that was probably a difference. And then 2011 Black Friday, obviously, where the sites in the U.S. just shut down. So I don't know, kind of talk me through some of the progression of those different benchmarks of online poker. Like, who were some of the biggest other players besides yourself?
I was around, like, I started getting into online poker around 2009. 2010 was when I made 2010 was my biggest year. That was when I made, like, when I was like the biggest winner.
What was that, like 5 million or something?
Yeah. That was, no, so I got in around 2000. I think I started 2007. 2008 I was playing 10-20. 2009 I was playing like 100, 200 or whatever. I think Phil Galfond was really big around those times. Patrick was playing huge stakes. Who else? The mixing players. I think Ben Solsky was playing pretty big too. Sauce. I'm trying to think. It's been so long.
But this was back when Full Tilt, the guys, all the games were going. It was just craziness. Gus Hansen, guys are firing. This is when it was every day you woke up and it was just like you could win or lose. What was like typical days back then? Like you could swing what, a couple 100,000, 500, a million even, or what was it?
I mean, not really a million. I mean, like, I remember if like 300, 600 or bigger ran, that was a big deal. Maybe like Ring it ran, but I was always playing heads up. I should have learned. It would have been smart to learn Ring earlier, but whatever.
When you say Ring, what does that mean for the viewers?
Ring means like just more than two. It just means like more than two players, really.
More 6 max, 9 max.
Yeah, that's what Ring means. Many different players. Let me think.
What up, Brian Glick? Good to see you, man. Love Jungleman. We got Please Don't Call Me. Yeah, we're going to be taking questions, guys. Get the retweets out on Twitter, of course. We will go through these, Dan. We got some food here. We might have to take a break at some point when you get very hungry. We'll grab it. We got the acai in a shake, so it's pretty easy to eat here. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I have so many questions. There's so many things I kind of know about Jungleman, but I don't really know. So it's going to be interesting to see. To kind of talk through. But so, I mean, those days that sounds so fun. Like, it just had to be, like, I mean, what would you say on a given day? Like, what's the average, like, in a week? You were playing 7 days a week? Were you literally, during this time, it was just all the time?
I was playing a lot this period. I was playing 7 days a week, maybe, like, I could have played more. Maybe, like, maybe somewhere over 40 to, between somewhere to 60 hours a week, I think.
Was it at that point over like a month, 2 or a year period? Like, I mean, obviously you can take your averages, but was it kind of like when you were playing 2-4, 3-6, 1-2, you knew like, all right, I'm making this much per day almost, or like in this game, this many hands, like the BB per 100, like were you just?
Oh, you're talking about when I was playing mid stakes.
Whenever at any like during your peak of online poker when it was super super popular, like what you knew your rate, like you knew like in these games, you were just a winner. You were printing money, basically.
My peak of online poker was probably like 2010. I think I don't know how hot I ran, but I ran really hot at PLO, it turned out. And no limit hold'em, I was really crushing. I was winning at like 10 big blinds per 100 over that period or something.
So explain to someone what that means. So give us an example. You're playing what game at that point? You're playing what mainly? 100, 200, or 2-4?
What was my main game? It must have been like 100, 200 because 2-4 didn't really. I would say it's like either like the average is between 100, 200, like a $20,000 buy-in, or 200, 400.
So explain to someone who's watching at home, if that means you're winning 10 BBs per 100, which is absurd, right? That's a crazy amount. You're winning 10 big blinds per 100 hands.
Yeah.
And so that means at a 100, 200 game, so 200 would be the big blind.
Yeah.
Over 100 hands, you're winning
$2,000.
So every 100 hands you get online, you're winning $2,000.
Yeah, I don't remember how long it took. If you're playing heads up, I think you play. I forget how many hands you play in an hour.
It's got to be a lot online. I mean, the full ring you play 25 live an hour, right?
Yeah, so it's way slower live. I think it's like over. I don't want to embarrass myself to all the online guys because I totally forget this number, but it's not. It's kind of not that relevant. But I was also multi-tabling back. Like I'd probably on average play like 3 or 4 tables at once back then. There were all sorts of games. So with a win rate like that, you can make quite a lot of money very fast. If it's 200, 400, it was like $4,000 every 100 hands, and playing like 3 or 4 tables, like that adds up fast.
Right, man, that's a wild time. So was there anyone back then? Was there anyone that you didn't really play, or where people wouldn't sit you? Was there a point where it was hard to get games, or like people just didn't? It was not hard to get games at that point. Like, there was so much action and so much going on. Poker's very ego.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ego, right? Like guys like for you to actually sit there and no one will sit you, or you sit to sit out, like that's part of the game, right? Because there's got to be people that know it's not a great spot, but like, it's kind of king of the hill. You want to be on there. I'm sure there's guys that are like shit, I don't want to play, but I kind of have to like at least try. So I'm sure you ran into a lot of that, right?
I was afraid to play, for sure. More so back then. No, back then it was definitely easier to get action. But I remember against Ike Haxton and Sauce, I was like pretty nervous to play. Mm-hmm. My friend You're Not in Danger too. We never really played much together. He was we both came from like the same town and played.
Oh yeah, Maryland guy. Was he one of the twins or brothers or something?
No. That's the Dang twins. You're in Danger, and wait, what's Hack and D Dang?
Where they were good too.
Yeah, they were very.
They
good
were
too.
Same area, weren't they? Kind of Maryland guys.
Yeah, they were. I've met them before. They're cool guys. But me and You're Not in Danger didn't really play against each other because we were friends and whatever.
Right.
And we both respected each other and stuff like that. Back then, in 2010, it was not that hard to get action, but it slowed down a bit eventually. And then I was moving to PLO, and a lot of people play PLO, and then once you learn a couple games, you can start. People start to negotiate and say, "Oh, well, you're too good at No Limit. Why don't we play PLO? You're not so good at PLO, so let's play No Limit and PLO.
Right.
Maybe we'll win." Remember, those were the days of the Card Runners guys, like Cole South and Brian Townsend and
Brian Hastings.
Yeah, Brian Hastings, Taylor KB, all those guys.
Yeah.
I battled with those guys. My original
employer.
Well,
or you had an internship.
Both actually.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't have an internship there, but I did learn from their videos, and I also did work there briefly. I made a couple videos there or whatever.
Okay, but then you would battle with them, and then how did that shake out? Did they did you guys stop playing, or do you think you got the best of them? Or
I think I got the best of them. Yeah.
Okay, so student became teacher.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
That's awesome. All right, so talk about college, because I went to University of South Carolina. I lived in Baltimore, familiar with Maryland. I know how college life was. I was playing much smaller stakes, but I mean 2004, 5, 6, it was like it was a great time to be playing online. I was unfortunately playing 25 cent, 50 cent to maybe 5-10 at like in between there, maybe 1-2 and 2-4. The games were insane. I mean, I was printing money as well, and I didn't really know what I was. I was just like playing very solid, and like guys were giving it away. How was it? But I remember the feeling of being on campus and playing poker. It was fun. I was doing affiliate programs. I was flying sometimes on weekends and going and playing my junior senior year, going into Atlantic City or Vegas. Talk to me about your college experience. What was that like? I guess I'm trying to understand your timeline. So were you in college? Were you playing high stakes? What stakes were you playing while you were at Maryland? You went to University of Maryland.
I was playing I played a bunch of different stakes during that time. Let's see, I played between like $1, $2, and maybe 50 cent $1 and all the way up to like 200, 400 or something.
Oh, really?
That was about the time when I dropped out.
Wait, so talk about that. So how was that? Who were you living in your own dorm? Were you with a roommate? Like, what was your life like with the friends? Because like I'm sure your other friends weren't. Well, maybe a couple of them played, but probably not really, right?
No,
like you're going to college. You didn't play. You're sitting on a computer. They're the ones. They're flipping burgers or working at the thrift shop, or they're going to school grinding, and you're in there and you're playing high stakes cash. I mean, that must have been pretty crazy, right? Like people must have. Word got out around, I'm sure. And
not really.
No.
I was pretty secretive. Like I was mostly like in my room. I didn't really get the proper. I got like a little bit of the proper college experience, but not really because, whatever. Maybe I was a little bit too obsessed with poker, something like that, and also I was a little bit socially awkward, so I didn't make so many friends.
Yeah.
That eventually happened when I went out and I just met some more people. Like it eventually happened. It took a while. Towards the last years, we threw a couple parties. But I forget. I had something else I wanted to say, but I forget.
We're talking about college and friends or people that knew on campus if you played.
They mostly didn't.
Were you going to at some point? Was it so? Talk. What year did you drop out of college?
2000. It was my third year. No, it was 2010. That's when I dropped out.
Okay. It was just too crazy. You were like, this is insane. What am I even... I can't think of possibly studying or going to class when I'm just playing the best games and printing.
It's like really annoying to lose like 130,000 one day and then there's like a book report due in 2 days. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't want to write a book report.
All right. So how was your parents' experience along the way, or your close relative? Like, did they just totally get it? Like, was that hard for you to tell them, like, hey, I'm dropping out of college? How did they feel about this whole adventure you were on of poker? What was it like? No, don't do this. Into like, okay. Into like, all right, we get it. They respect it, or were they kind of like, well, you should still finish school? How did they react?
I think at the time when I dropped out, it wasn't as though I didn't have. I really wanted to finish college actually, but. In fact, I had to retake a class a second time. The class was game theory, is the irony.
Okay.
It's actually totally irrelevant to poker, but it's like I was studying computer science at the time. I think my parents were okay with me dropping out at the time that I did because I had already had quite a bit of success.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it wasn't like a pipe dream at the time. Like, hey, I think this is gonna work. You were there. They knew you could do it. So you drop out, and then you continue living in the same area. When did you kind of journey out to Vegas and start traveling the world? Like, were you in Maryland still for a while? Probably had your setup and everything, or did you move when you dropped out of college?
Well, part of the reason I dropped out was because I wanted to do an event in London.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to travel and do what other stuff, and it's like, how can you travel and like go to school? That doesn't really work.
Right.
So I went to London and I played like the World Series of Poker Europe or something like that.
Okay.
Didn't do anything, but it was like cool to travel for the first time, or one of the first times in London, outside of the U.S. anyway. What happened next? Oh yeah, I moved to Florida with Ashton Griffin. Oh, he was a big player during those times.
Is he still playing? I haven't heard from him in a while.
Kind of a long story. I think he's playing or into crypto or something like that.
No worries, just curious. Yeah, I remember him.
With Hasib Qureshi, if you remember him, Douglas Head. Oh, that's a different story.
Okay.
But I moved there with them to Orlando. Did you ask about when I started traveling outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, it was kind of like so you drop out of school and then what? Were you just playing? I was wondering if you were playing online still primarily, or if then you started opening up and doing some of the traveling. Yeah.
I was still playing online now. I was playing online until basically Black Friday, and that was about when I moved to Vegas, if you remember.
Okay. Yeah. So you go move out. So now you're moving to Vegas. You got your Mr. Poker. You're this legend online, right? People know you. You're the high stakes, one of the biggest winners ever. And talk about Black Friday then. So that, I mean, I remember where I was when it happened and saw the messages. Talk to me about that experience, because did you have any idea it was coming, or did you wake up and log in and heard about it, or did someone tell you to go log in, or how did you find out about that?
I remember I just woke up and I was with Hasib in Austin. I was visiting a couple friends, and he just says, "Oh, some crazy shit just happened. The government just shut down all the online poker sites." So that's how I heard about it. And
so then you log in, you go frantically log into your account or try to, and you see.
Yeah, I remember I did, but I didn't freak out as much as I probably should have, because in my head I thought, oh, this will be resolved or whatever. Like, who cares? Like, it was almost like one of those situations where you don't realize like the
severity of it.
Yeah. Or at least that was the case for me at the time, because I was quite young.
Well, you also think Full Tilt or was primarily, or did you have some Poker Stars or Party then, or were you across a lot of sites, or were you playing primarily on?
Actually, there were all three sites that I was on were shut down.
Okay.
Full Tilt, Party Poker, and Ultimate Bet, all three.
Well, Party Poker was 06, wasn't it?
Oh, not Party Poker. Sorry. No. Full Tilt,
Absolute,
Poker Stars, and
UB,
Absolute.
Or UB, Ultimate Bet, or whatever.
Yeah.
So all three sites are shut down. It's up to you. I don't know if this might have been public. I remember hearing some crazy figures. I think I saw it online. Can you give a ballpark of like what kind of money was, because it wasn't like gone, but it was held, and then it was unclear whether you would get it back or not. And it was supposed to be getting back, but talk me through that experience a little bit. Whatever in specific.
You want figures?
Was it public? I remember seeing some numbers. I've seen articles about it.
Matters.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I had nearly 4 million on Full Tilt, stuck. Wow.
And you're how old? So this is 2011. So this is 8. You're 21, 22.
I think it was 21, I think I was 21.
So you wake up, the government. You hear what happens, you log in, you don't know what's going to go on. You don't really freak out because you kind of think, well, these are major companies. These are like publicly traded big companies. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I can't play anymore. It's going to be annoying, or I have to figure something else out, but surely the money's going to just be put in, like, sent to me, right? That's like your thought process.
Yeah. I thought it wouldn't be such a big deal, but I was like naive and whatever. I had no experience like this before. And I didn't being 21 and like growing up where college and whatever, like you don't really like know about too many like really bad things that actually happen.
Right. So at what point do you realize this could be a problem? Like, is it 2 days, 1 week, 1 month? I mean, at some point, obviously, it looks like it's a disaster, right? Like, it's like, wow, I might even just not ever get it. Is that? I forget the timeline on how it all happened. I know eventually, years later, you got sent, right? You did get paid.
Yeah.
Poker Stars did buy Full Tilt. They did reimburse the balances. Full Tilt had some crazy shit going on where they were, crediting poker pros and didn't have the money on hand, and it was kind of a mess, obviously. But so talk me through that experience. Like, how did you feel? When did you realize this was an issue, a big problem?
I think maybe after like the middle of the World Series when nothing had still happened.
So middle of the World Series is like June, July 2011.
No, I must have realized it was a big deal. Something like that. When it took like a couple months and nothing had happened, or when like Phil Ivey threatened to sue Full Tilt or something like that.
Yeah. So now what are you thinking? Was there people that were paying or buying the debts and stuff? Like I remember like people would sell their balances for like 15 cents or 50 cents on the dollar, stuff like that. Was there any talk of that? Did you consider that?
I did. I think I did talk about this, although I don't know. I did do that basically. I'm trying to think how much I already talked about this because I don't know how much of this information is confidential or not. But I did.
Don't say anything that's not. I'm not looking to cause a ruckus, but you don't have to say names or exact amounts. But
I don't want to say name. Yeah. Because this one I don't remember. I think I did talk about this bit, but I did. Okay. I basically did a deal where if Full Tilt goes to 0, I would get something like maybe for like half the money I did this or something. But if Full Tilt went to 0, if Full Tilt went to 0, I would get something like half of the money in the account. Mm-hmm. And then otherwise, I paid like $450K for my whole account, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I paid a little bit less than 80 cents on the dollar, or got offered that.
But you ended up net when it all shook out because it got paid back. You ended up getting most of it just at some discount.
Yeah. I had to pay $450K basically.
And at what point did you make that deal? Was it 6 months in, 3 months in?
No, it was like right after.
Oh, really?
It was like 3 days after Black Friday.
Oh, you made it that fast. You kind of got spooked early, and you were like, you know what? Let me lock up something.
Well, it was sort of Hasib's suggestion, and I didn't really know. I was so stupid back then. I didn't know anything about what's going on.
So looking back at that whole process, is it safe to say, so you had $4 million on Full Tilt, you had money on other sites as well, so you had like $5 million or whatever, $4 million plus, somewhere in that range online. Yeah. Looking back on that, did you need $4 million on Full Tilt, or was it just kind of like, it's like your checking account you almost looked at, like, and you were just like, whatever. Like, if you had done it differently, obviously no one's really thinking there's an issue, but like, would it have made sense to maybe leave only $1 million on at a time, or maybe it was hard to get money on and off, so you needed money for the game. So I'm sure like you could have had less. You didn't need the 4 on there, but you still needed a lot because
it was kind of like you needed kind of a lot if you're gonna play high stakes. It's super annoying to like bust your account and then reload. Mm-hmm. It's not very easy to do that. You need to like send big wires, or I don't know. You have to have someone send you a lot of money or something. I probably didn't really need it, but I didn't really know how to deal with that problem. I just kind of didn't know how to deal with that problem. Like it's just like a odd thing. Again, like. I was mostly asking questions. I had not really had the proper experience of dealing with these like strange problems of having a lot of money in like one place or whatever.
But it still was a sweat, even though you made this arrangement. You still were. It mattered if Full Tilt just went to 0 or got paid back in full. It was still very important.
Oh yeah, that was
a big sweat. Yeah, so
it's kind of like you get used to it though over time. I mean, it's not like it didn't really change my life. I wasn't like spending exorbitant amount of money or anything like that. It changed the stakes I played, and I got staked shortly after, though.
Interesting.
I mean, that much it changed, but it didn't change anything about my lifestyle, really. Well, actually, Black Friday did, because I moved out of the U.S. afterwards.
Where did you move then?
Well, the original plan was to move to Canada, but then we moved to the U.K. originally.
Mm-hmm. And what was that like? How did you like that? Like looking back on it, did Black Friday maybe even help you? I know for me personally, I was playing a lot online. I was, not very healthy. I was waking up every day. I would eat, play beer pong, was eating Chinese delivery, playing online poker, multi-table tournaments, doing whatever, and then wake up and I'd be like, oh, like online poker's here. I'd play a lot. Like I was not doing a lot. I wasn't really traveling much. I was just kind of like warped and playing a lot. It almost sounds funny saying it like that, but it was just kind of like I just wasn't very balanced, and it was like I was the same thing. I was right out of college. I had no job. I had played soccer my whole life. Mm-hmm. I had been in college. I always had responsibility. I was on teams my whole life, and then it was just kind of like, all right, I'm free. I'm gonna play poker. I'm gonna hang out with my friends. I'm gonna party, have a great time. And then I remember when Black Friday happened, I was like, oh shit, like now I can't live in Baltimore and play poker online, and like what am I going to do? I was like, this is so bad, just because like it sucks. But then like looking back now, I think it was a blessing. How do you feel about that experience?
I'm not sure if I would call it a blessing, but I will definitely say that it would push me more towards like gaining some life experience and whatever, being a bit more balanced. Definitely that's the case. Mm-hmm. Because if that wasn't the case, I would just be sitting around playing online all the time, and I wouldn't have traveled all these. It would have taken me longer at least to travel all these crazy places and whatever.
And I can't 100%. Say though, for me, I wasn't making 10 BBs per 100 at 100, 200. That's for sure. So I guess it's all relative, a little different. It's one of those things for you. It's not really a blessing necessarily when it cuts off your, plus freezes your money. It's got to be emotional to go from being like the most dangerous liquid guy and online crusher and whatever, and into, like you said, you even had to be staked and like making deals, sell off your money. It's kind of, it's a bit of a. Yeah, it's a bit of a traumatic experience. Also a trust with like what's real, what's not. Like it kind of probably jolts you pretty quickly into reality and really makes you refocus into like how does life work? Like this is crazy,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's safe to say. Wow, people, we're gaining traction here. Sorry about that. Swipe up on Instagram wasn't the right link, but I know you guys know where to find it, where to get us, and we're here now. We are gonna take questions on here. We have a lot of questions here, so we're gonna probably dive in there kind of soon. Just trying to give you guys a little background history as well as learn here. I see Ghost of M, the legend. We got Vader in the chat. Matt Kiefer, what's up, brother? A lot of familiar faces. Played much what's that? PL08 Jungle. PL08. Do you play PL08? No, your mixed games, but do you like PL08?
I sort of like, PL08 I've got like a weird feeling about. I definitely play PL08, but that's probably my worst game.
Okay.
I'm not good at PL08.
Why is that? You're so good at all these other games. PL08, I've played it. I like it. It's fun. It doesn't seem super complex, but maybe, is it just something you haven't put a lot of time into, or is it kind of like there's a lot of split pots? Is there some reason why you think that's not one of your better games?
A couple things. First of all, I played it much less than like a lot of the other games. Second of all, I think it's pretty complex actually. I think it's like way different from PLO and No Limit, because there's like the way the two sides of the pot work totally differently, and there's not really. I'm trying to think if there's something comparable. But not really.
So it is a game where there's a lot of edge potentially, where if you don't understand some principles, you could get pretty exposed.
Oh, right? I think there's quite a bit of an edge in that game, and definitely, there's just when you play like totally new games, there's just all sorts of possible mistakes you can make. It's quite a tough process, and no one's really playing totally perfectly. Like there is a mixed game that we play with like other big bet games like Parliament Badoogie and like Parliament Deuce to 7. Things like that. In this game, I've definitely made some big mistakes.
Right.
It's like, and yeah.
And okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have. I guess the same thing. I don't play a lot of it. It's fun. Like if I see a WSOP 3K or 1500 and I'm around, I like late reg and fire, and it's just like a fun format, I think. But it's it's definitely we could do some more work on that. I'm sure it's not, and again, it's not a game like you probably haven't put much time into it, because like right now short deck's very popular. PLO, No Limit Hold'em, that's where the big games are. Money is like it's not like there's massive PLO 8 games running in places. So if there was, you would Jungleman it and just get in there, right?
Yeah, that for sure, that's true. I should say that it's only like part of like one of the mixed games we play like once every like few months. It's like one of like.
Who's a dangerous PLO8 guy? Just out of curiosity, is there a guy that's like renowned as like the PLO8? Like that's his like people are taking bathroom breaks when the PLO8 card comes up because this guy just won't ever miss a hand. Who's like who at least believes to be? You don't have to say.
Definitely Brian Rast. It's his road game.
Okay.
And he seems to he seems to have some good ideas about the game and wins that consistently or whatever.
Okay.
He's got that. He's like a little bit unofficially. How do I say it? Like the split pot 4-card games are his thing somehow.
Right.
It's like a weird niche.
He owns it at least. He believes it so much that you feel it. Like you're like, all right, yeah, you're good at this. Like I get it. Like it's a confidence thing almost. He definitely believes it. Yeah. That's cool.
He definitely believes it, and it's the niche thing is there. For sure.
Right. Well, that's Brian Rast, one of my very closest friends, also been on the podcast. That's good to hear that he's dominating there. Someone's asking about this, just to clarify. So you had to set up new accounts on site, which you had money frozen on from the USA. So how does that work? So Full Tilt freezes your money. You then go out of the country, I guess PokerStars, then you make a new account, or you get your old account activated. But like that, I forget that process because it is kind of awkward. Your money's taken now. You can go out of the country though and like play on a new account.
Yeah, you had to get like a new address.
Yeah, I remember I did that too. Yeah, but I just forget like how that worked. So
I forget how that worked also.
It's kind of confusing, right? It's like, oh, hey, come to Canada and you can play now, but we have all your money and you have to redeposit, kind of. But I guess it wasn't Poker Stars. It was Full Tilt that had the issue, though. So it wasn't, you were playing on Stars. And then I remember Stars bought Full Tilt a couple years later, and then it was weird because they like turned back on Full Tilt. And then the money did get sent. I forget when it was. It must have been 15 or 14 when they sent back the money.
Yeah.
Somewhere 3, 4, 5 years later, it got sent back. All the balances did get paid. Like, that was a crazy day because, like, that kind of came out. You know, it was very unclear if it was going to happen, but it did. So that was a good day. Do you remember where you were for that?
I do remember where I was. I was in Budapest.
Okay. And someone just said, hey, check this out? Or someone, one of your buddies notified you?
Yeah, I checked it's interesting to see your account balance, your bank account with like $4 million more. And like, okay,
that's a good sign.
That's a good feeling.
That's nice. The highs and the lows, man. That's crazy. Thanks for answering the question. No worries. Please don't call me, guys. Again, I want to remind you, this is the format. We're going to be doing a lot of podcasts. I like doing the live podcast. I think it's fun, but just, don't feel like we're ignoring the chat. You can ask your questions on Twitter. We'll try to get to them. This is a conversation we could do offline and just put up, but I think it's more fun to have the live element to it, and then also give you guys a chance for, if we see your question, to answer it. But please don't take it personal if we miss it. I am on Twitter. There is 3 109 tickets we're going to have Dan give away for you. So there's a lot of questions here. I mean, there's just a lot. So we're going to try to knock down rapid fire some of these as well. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of your poker progression. Is there talk to me about a bit about the DIR challenges? And I honestly don't know. I just remember all this, and I know there's like kind of I remember there was some stuff that didn't get finished. It was kind of sour, a few of the spots. So I'm not I really don't know. I just know you've had a few challenges. Can you talk about, you did multiple ones. You've had one with DIR. I think that one never finished. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you have a significant...
yeah, that's the official response.
You have what can you talk about?
Essentially not finished, yeah.
What is, how big of a lead? What was the actual, just so I can have an idea? Maybe, who knows, man, maybe we could get it, maybe on the podcast we call it out, maybe we get it set up and get it run, because it technically, well, first of all, tell me what it is, just so I can understand that, because you've done multiple of these, correct? And you have finished, like, not with him, but you've done other challenges with people and finished them, or no? Or is this the only one you've ever done? I forget. I've heard of a few of these challenges and things. I know some other guys have done them and they finished them, I think. I believe so.
Well, DIR did one with Patrick Antonius.
Okay.
And Doug did one with Sauce.
Oh yeah, so those finished though.
The one with Sauce went very smoothly. Sauce lost and he paid and whatever. I mean, it's just there's no problems with Sauce. He's a very honorable guy.
Okay.
I don't know what happened with the one with Tom and Patrick. But
because they had a Full Tilt chart, there was I remember there was a official thing, and it showed how many hands and it was tracking it, and I remember some of this stuff, so I don't remember, but you did do one with Tom, and yeah. What was that arrangement? Okay, so Tom offered to the world basically that he could play anyone at Jungleman and PLO, where they had to escrow, they had to put up $500,000, and he put up $1.5 million. And then they would have to play 50,000 hands, and Tom was betting that he would win, basically. He was laying 3-1 on that side bet that he would win. Okay, so net plus whatever the total was you would get. Yeah. So it's a pretty hefty bet. Yeah. It's hefty. And he opened that to the world. You then said, hey, Jungleman Dan reporting for the challenge, and he accepted. Actually, he offered it to me. So he wasn't even that you said, hey, man, I think I could get you, let's do it. He actually got you to do the challenge. Yeah. He contacted you. Then what happened? What did you think about this? Were you kind of maybe because if the fact that you didn't contact him means you probably didn't think it was the greatest deal in the history. You must have thought he was pretty damn tough, or else at 3-1 you would probably take it, right? Well, it was. Or you didn't even know about it necessarily, or. I think I was just I probably should have considered taking it, but this is one of these situations where I was just too much in my own world, where whatever. You also have a. You have a good thing going. You have your own games and format and feeling, right? So it's now you're gonna kind of dismiss that. You got to take on a bet, even though it's a great odds. You still could lose 500 plus the damage. So it's not it's not a slam dunk. Considerable risk, right? But when he offered that to me, I was already playing him. He had already lost 35 buy-ins at No Limit Hold'em. I was a little bit taken aback. If you lose 35 buy-ins at No Limit Hold'em,
typically you don't want to play the guy.
He was down 35 buy-ins too. You're saying.
Already.
Heads up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's if you buy in for $40,000, that's what is that? That's 1.4 million already.
So he's down to you 1.4 million.
Well, we were playing 100, 200, 200, 400. So he's down something like
800 to a million-ish.
Yeah, something like that. He's already down a shitload, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm gonna
give you 3 to 1.
Give you 3 to 1 on the next 50,000 hands." So I was pretty scared.
Wait, how many hands have you played?
We had played like over 20,000 hands or something like that, and he had lost this.
Okay.
So I thought maybe,
Yeah. So then you're like, all right, like, yeah, you're worried about that a little because.
Well, I'm thinking, is this guy some kind of fucking genius? Like, what's going on here? Like it's
yeah, like almost like is he giving you some rope, and then like he's gonna come smash you for the 500 plus like win another 2 million off the 50, even though you're up whatever. So, but you have a little hedge. You're up $1.5 million. Yeah. So you're kind of like, all right, you accept.
At some point, yes, I decided I was going to accept, and I thought maybe he was hustling me or whatever, or I don't know. He's what should I say? Yeah, it's a very bold.
Yeah, maybe challenge. There's some sort of angle. He's smart, obviously. He's an elite poker player. He's at the top of the game as well. So like you just gotta, your radar's up at all times. Anytime someone seeks you out for something, your radar should be at high alert, because that's generally like if a guy's like I can shoot 95% free throws, some random guy comes to you and wants to bet you, like he's probably
that's sort of what it was like.
Yeah, he's probably a pretty fucking good free throw shooter. So all right, so now you accept. You start the challenge. It's kind of exciting. The poker world's fired up. It's a big deal. It's getting a lot of press, whatever, right? You get going. What happened? I truthfully don't know. I just know that it didn't finish. And there was you had a lead, or I don't remember how it all. Do you mind talking about? Because I honestly don't know.
Like
I think it's
pretty. Talk about it, yeah, because it's complete. It's yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting. Is a good way to put it. So surprise, surprise, that we played about maybe 20,000 hands, and I just totally kicked his ass again.
How much roughly?
Who would have thought? For about 1.2 million this time.
Okay, so now you're up about 2.4. You're up over $2 million on him.
Yeah.
You're halfway through the challenge. How big of a lead do you have?
Like a massive lead.
Oh, okay. Well, you told me 1.2. So like he's almost like it'd be hard even. He'd have to like run how hot you ran for the first half to be back to around even.
Yeah.
So like he's in big trouble.
Yeah, well, not only that, but he's down 70 buy-ins overall.
Okay.
Which no one, I mean, if you lose 70 buy-ins to someone and no one will hold him,
it's
like,
time you gotta
rethink what you're doing.
Okay.
You're not a fucking favorite if you lose 70 buy-ins.
What percent do you think you are to win the challenge at this point? With that lead, like you probably ran some numbers roughly. I mean, 90%, 95%.
Assuming we have equal edge, I mean, you can look at it mathematically.
That's
it's
what I'm
like
saying.
Less than 5% if we had equal edge.
Right. Plus that you're 70 buy-in favor. Over a sample of 70, you're up 70 buy-ins so far.
Well, that's not even considering the fact that if I'm a favorite, he's like almost drawing dead from this point.
Okay, so all right, so I actually Tom Dwan's one I never really talked to. I don't know much about him. I don't know anything really. I mean, I just know he's a high stakes poker legend.
Yeah.
Plays some huge games, and I've not I don't really know much good or bad. I really don't. So all this happens. You reach out. Does it clarify as well? This was on Full Tilt only?
Yeah.
This was what year?
This was 2010.
10. So Black Friday,
this is
April.
When it started, 2010.
2010, Black Friday. Is it almost a slightly Saved by the Bell, or no? Like, was it technically so? Like, Black Friday happens, Full Tilt goes down, obviously, but like at what point had he stopped playing the matches? When you were playing, you could have finished the match easily by Black Friday.
He stopped playing like the summer of 2010 or something.
Okay, so
wait. Let me some point in 2010 he stopped playing. Like in the winter of 2010, he did not play.
Okay.
For a very long period, and I was,
You started to realize like, all right, he doesn't want to give that 1.5 million or it seems like he's just sort of like, was it like you would message him, WhatsApp him, send him a Skype message, hey, like, you ready to play or whatever, and would he ignore you? Would he say, hey, no, like, I just can't right now, I'm busy? Or was it like
I think it was a matter of a couple things. I think that I wasn't particularly polite in saying and asking him to play, which was a mistake. I should have probably been, I was probably not happy at this point, but he did. There were, at least in the beginning, in the beginning, he tried to like compensate me a little bit, or like, how do I say? He tried to make it like somewhat okay, but there were as time went on, he he did and he didn't. Let's put it that way.
Okay. But so now January, February, March roll around, still no contact, no match. Like there literally was 0 hands, or did he give you a little bit of taste? Somewhere?
No, like pretty much 0 or not very much at all. I know we at somewhere between this time we played the first 20,000 hands in like the first 2 months, and then we played somewhere like somehow 5,000 hands over the last at some point in the next like 2 or 3 years or something. So,
okay.
So at this, even to this day, only 25,000.
So is it
completed.
Is this challenge technically live? Is it acknowledged? Is it like, hey, like, has it been left like we'll settle one day when like stuff we'll get back on and fire? Is he trying to say, well, full tilt's down to that? Because it doesn't matter, right? You could play 100, 200 on any platform, any variant.
Well, there's no contingency that full tilt's down, anything is defaulted.
No, I know. So like in theory of party poker, if we set up like a Thunderdome, like a party dome or somewhere like a site where he agreed and you were to play, you could pick up, the exact hands, the exact amount, and you could just continue the challenge. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure. Well, now we have an agreement, although this agreement, we did excuse me, I mean,
don't say anything. I don't want you. I'm not trying to stir up the pot. I'm just genuinely curious because I remember this was a big deal. It's exciting, and I don't know any of this, like how it settled. I just remember there was a lead and it didn't happen. So I'm just curious,
Well, there's a lot of stuff that happened in between. But as the very latest, should I say the very latest news, or should I talk about some of the stuff that happened in between?
I see someone saying, please don't call me 21,000 hands played of 50,000, and Dan is up 1.3 million. I mean, maybe that's like the last public records. I don't know if that's right or not, or probably
not. We play close to 25,000 hands, and I'm up a little over 1.4 million.
Okay, so even crazier now, even close, halfway big lead.
Yeah.
Either way, share whatever. I guess more so what's like the current state of it, and what would you like to see happen, and what do you think realistically would happen?
Okay, so I should mention that he has paid something like, he thinks it's more, but it's not. It's something like between 700 to, it's more than 700,000 for sure, and less than 850 for sure of penalties, somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, so he is paying or done some stuff.
Well, he did. Yeah, he's done some stuff to try.
So that seems pretty honorable, like, or at least.
Of.
I'm saying in regards of like not just like you know what, F you, like he's not like
I would say it's close to honorable. I mean, he's like made some kind of effort.
Right. It's not, he hasn't just totally said F you, but like at that being said, how is it? Do you think there's a chance you guys settle this? Would you like to set something up on Party Poker if you would agree? Would that be fun to you, or is it even just like now it's so long ago? Like, is it kind of like things have changed? Like, what do you think?
There's some information that I'm not sure that he wants me to reveal, but I will say that
don't do it.
I'm trying to think if I can like say like a little bit.
I'd rather not. I don't want you to. I don't want any. I'm not looking. My media, my podcast game is not stir the pot. I don't want that. I really don't. So
we can stir the pot just a little bit. Like give it a couple.
All right,
twirls.
just a tiny spin. But
we made an agreement that along like a little bit around a year ago, I would say, and that agreement hasn't come to fruition yet.
Okay.
I'm giving him a little bit of a break, just because, just in hopes that he's honorable because of the fact that he's made these concessions. Is the word, right?
Makes sense. He's shown good faith.
He's shown some efforts of good faith, and he seems to have had a tough track record. Like he seems to actually, whenever I talk to him, it's like he's in a new like
crazy predicament or something.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, like things are going so shitty or whatever, and
yeah.
After like 6 years of it, you kind of like, okay, Tom.
Right.
But
he's one of those guys.
He's definitely in a bad track record. I mean,
but he's one of those guys. He's playing big games. He's a guy that can be, he can be on top of the world tomorrow or something. He's not a guy that's just down and out. And again, I have no idea his current. I've heard everything, right? There's like rumors and crazy shit, and you probably you're more in tune because you know the circle and the guys, but. The stakes and the things, like things can go from 0 to 100 or vice versa really quick, right? You could have a great session or a great opportunity and, be on top of the world potentially, right? Like based on the size of the games or this and that. So anyway, I'm not trying to dive into Durr's personal life. I think it's super interesting and I didn't realize that, but like that's crazy. Yeah, that's a huge, so really you're net like 3 million on that operation though. You're at 2.4 from playing. He's paid part of the 1.5 potential lost. So like you're right around 3 million net on the dirt challenge. So I mean, it's not like it's a nice scenario. It's not like you just totally got like blanked.
Yeah. It's mostly a good situation. Just where's the rest of the money?
Right.
We'll giving him a little bit of break for the meantime.
But let me ask you, do you think is that a scenario? Do you feel, if you had to guess right now, let's just say like based on the agreement you guys are worked out or how you have, is that possible to finish the challenge, or is it just would it be settled via another way? Like, is it like, all right, let's go on party poker, set up a heads up table and let's like keep track of this? Would he want to do that, do you think, or is that not really what's on the table?
I don't think that he wants. Maybe he wants to do that, but I mean, we've tried. We thought it would happen a million times and it just never happened. I don't have a lot of faith that specifically will happen. Maybe it'll be settled or something. Like that's a whole.
Because I guess
story.
in theory, if it gets settled or not, the potential risk on his end. Let's just say you finished the 25,000 roughly more hands.
Yeah.
He could lose another 1.5 million potentially, or somewhere a million, whatever, right? Plus he would then have to pay the other 800K. So he could really. It's like a 2 million possible. Like worst case scenario almost, maybe even more.
Yeah, I don't think he thinks of it like that. He thinks more like he can come back and figure me out or whatever. He's quite optimistic about things like that.
Can they figure you out, Jungle? Who could figure you out? You can't figure. Do you know yourself? Can people figure you out? How can someone figure you out?
Well, I think that statement is a little bit misleading because like when you what does figure out really mean in this context? Like even and also you can just what if you just play GTO? If you play GTO, you can figure out if the whole point of playing GTO. Okay, so I want to say a couple things that are more based on like the progress of strategy. Like what GTO is, you can solve GTO mathematically or whatever, but if two people play exploitatively and try to figure each other out, and they keep doing this to each other and they're adjusting correctly, then you reach GTO. That's what GTO is. It's just them it's just like two people maximally exploiting each other as much as possible. Until they reach basically an equilibrium. So you could say if he quote unquote figured me out and I just would have to the next strategy would be for me to change my game or whatever, and like the ultimate result would be basically I would just play GTO, and he can't win. And
right.
I mean, we're far away from that, and
it sounds
he's already had 50,000 hands to fucking figure me out, and yeah, that's gone really well. So. I don't think so.
Right. All right.
I don't think I'm too worried about this.
I get it. Interesting. Yeah, that's a interesting way of looking at it for sure. Is there man? So okay. So all right. So that I get that. That makes a lot of sense. And this is kind of brings me to my next thought. Like I don't want to go down the GTO rabbit hole and simulation, all this type of stuff. But what do you feel the current state of online poker with HUDs? And all these different things. I know Rob Young was on actually 2 days ago talking about they removed 10,000 bots from party poker, which is pretty. I mean, that's a lot. He said, cash game traffic's way down, but that this is the phase of a cleansing. They want to just like, and in order to get better, you kind of got to. All right, yeah, the numbers, the rake, all this stuff's going to be down, but it's going to be real people. They want to get rid of HUDs where there's just basically basic. You show the big blinds or some very basic stats, but not in-depth HUDs and stuff. And of course, it's kind of like cat and mouse with the law, right? Like the bad guys, the good guys are always trying to like beat each other, get ahead of each other, and stay ahead of the curve. Obviously, people have gotten better at poker, but there's still a great game. There's a lot of variations. There's short deck now. There's big card this, 5 card that. Like poker's a timeless thing. Would you agree? It's like it used to be 7 card stud, 5 card draw, then it's no limit hold'em, then it's PLO, now it's short deck. So there's always gonna be new games, new variations, and stuff going. So from your perspective, as one of the more successful and known cash game guys, there's a lot of guys on Twitch now that are streaming multi-table tournaments. We talked to me and you and I, part of the reason you want to come to Florida, we're talking about some possible things, and you're saying you'll be open to stream on Twitch some potentially, right? You want to look at it,
You're
considering, what do you got? Guys, can we get some comments in the chat? Would you like to see Dan Jungleman streaming on Twitch? If yes, like hit some comments, hit some hearts, put some comments in. Let's type something in the chat. But let's just say that were to happen. What do you feel the the progression would be? Like, how big would that be if HUDs were eliminated and, player names were just like new and it was, not so predatorial? Do you think there could be a resurgence? I mean, you saw West Virginia just passed. I don't know if you saw that for it's a fifth state.
Yeah.
And there's some other stuff coming. Like USA Poker comes back.
I think you told me about West Virginia.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop, Jungle.
PBF is definitely in the loop.
I'm dialed in. We're in the matrix over here. So that all happens. Things go right. Cash games get back. It probably wouldn't be the same as 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. But all that said, would that be exciting, do you think? Would that be like, give it like a kick if like Party Poker, they go playerless names, or even just the HUDs are gone, they cleared all the bots? Like, what do you think about that for poker and cash games? Do you think there could be a kickback up in cash?
I think a couple of things. I think there'll be some kind of kick. I think it's definitely moved in the right direction, and I also think it will prolong the longevity of poker, because part of what kills it is like too much competitive edge, negating potential competitive edge, like by removing software and whatever. Definitely it equalizes the playing field a little bit, and I think I think longevity is one of the key. I think that is something that will happen more so than a kick. I think a little bit of a kick will happen. Like, guys will be less afraid to go and try online because they're not as worried about pros using all this crazy software and stuff like that.
Yeah.
While playing. But I think it's a little bit optimistic to imagine that the poker scene's gonna return to like. I don't think it'll be quite anything like the good days, unfortunately. But hopefully, I hope so. Maybe the U.S. market opens up and we get like a real poker boom or whatever. I think you need more things that kind of communicate that the everyday person can win. Like, that's something. Like, you got to keep the dream alive. If the dream's not alive, then no one pursues the dream if the dream's not alive.
Right. So yeah, no. Okay. So for sure, that stuff will help a lot. Cleaning the bots obviously is always good, and then the HUDs and all that at the same time kind of coming in. I think it'd be interesting. I definitely think it could all those factors with the states and the U.S. legalizing as well. I think it is a chance for another shot. And again, it doesn't have to necessarily be the boom, but you want it to be fun. You want people to go on there and hop in a 6-max game and just feel comfortable, and they want to have a good time. They can win or lose. It's not like playing roulette or blackjack where you're just automatically losing. You could have you can have an edge. You can do some stuff, and you can have some fun. So that's
you definitely want poker to be fun.
Yeah.
I think I even want to play live with these tournament guys all the time. I think, like, who the fuck would watch a tournament? Like, all these guys like sitting around standing like this and like tanking and stuff like that. We need more.
Yeah.
We need more fun in poker.
Well, for sure. I mean, listen, the big blind ante in tournaments, for example, is huge. It speeds the game up a lot, makes things a lot simpler. It's also nice because guys can be on their phone. Not every hand you have to do something. So it now eliminates some actual time. You got guys, speeds up the tournament. What else? Shot clock's cool. I mean, that seems like to be a really, even now they're saying, we'll do it right around the bubble or in the money. Yeah. But like do it earlier, even like, at the end, like whatever, 6 hours in, 4 hours in, or even from the start. I mean, there's all these things that are kind of important to help poker keep fresh, keep clean, keep fast shave day off a tournament. Because guys don't want to go and play 5-day, 4-day tournament that are businessmen. So have some 1-day turbos, 2 days, whatever. All this stuff is good, guys. We're gonna get into the question portion. There's a lot. Jungleman has not eaten. We had him a coffee. He's had a sparkling water. I got an acai smoothie over there.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see why don't we, guys, give me 1 sec. Let me get Jungle a little bit of food here, and then we're going to tackle in. There is a giveaway on Twitter. 3109 tickets from Party Poker we're going to give away, courtesy of Dan. He will select those winners. But if you ask a question, we'll try to get to a bunch of these. I know Dan's got a busy day. We got a late start here, but we've covered a lot of ground already. So I'm going to scroll through these. I'm going to let Dan... I'm gonna get him a little snack here on the side. I'm gonna look at some questions, and then we're gonna kind of we'll call it like a intermission, if we will, for a second. I mean, you can eat on the stream. It's up to you. We'll give us 1 minute. Let's walk over here, Dan. Let's get you a little breather, guys. Hang tight. 1 sec. We're calling an audible. So here, this is you. This is yours. Try that. See if you like it. I also got you empanada. What's that? It's like chicken empanada. Just like you see it. And then let's order a proper It's up to you. Guys, I'm going to look at some questions. We're going to hang tight. I'm just letting Dan get a snack because he did not eat yet. We're going to answer a lot of questions here. Want to make sure he's fueled up and ready. Man, it's very interesting stuff. Like the Dur stuff, I would that's interesting. It's interesting to see. Maybe we can get that set up on Party Poker, make a custom table. That would be a lot of fun. Some great questions. I can't wait to go through these with you guys. Also on Instagram, if you go to the swipe up story portion, let me see. Let me just go on Instagram. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. If you go here, go to my story. So we have this. Oh, where's the camera? There's here, right? I don't know if you can see. I got the privacy screen on. You can go and ask a question. I will read those as well, the swipe ups on Instagram. Plus, looks like there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of good questions here. So I'm going to answer some of these, or we're going to ask some of these, and we're also going to go through these on Twitter. So let's give Dan a breather here. I hope you guys are having fun. If you got any questions, I see Dennis, Steve Goldie. This is the best podcast to date, you say. We've had some great ones, but Dan definitely, I love his style. He's direct. He goes right into it. He's not afraid to dive in, and he's a man of the people, man. Jungleman Dan. Follow him on Instagram, Twitter. We'll show you that as well, guys. There's his Daniel Cates, Jungleman Dan on Instagram. He posts some fun stuff. Dan and I battled a few times. Premier League, 125K buy-in. Alpha 8, 100K buy-in. He ended up winning that tournament. As a matter of fact, I could find that probably. There it is. First for 500,000. Valentine's Day 2014. I bubbled. Dan won the tournament. That hurt. That was a $100,000 buy-in. 500K is short. Basically a sit and go. He did win. Dan's had a couple good tournament scores in his career. He doesn't play a ton of them, but he does get it done. There's his Twitter. And here is I'm going to go through these questions now, guys. So go ahead, get them through. And let's just find this right here. So we'll click here, and we're going to go through these as well. So we'll just kind of go through here systematically. Let me see, check on Dan. Is that empanada any good or no? Is that okay?
It's okay. It's not my particular style, but it's...
Is this okay?
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so...
Appreciate the...
Yeah, we got to take a break, man. I can't have you hungry and podcasting. That's not fun. All right, guys, so we're gonna continue here in a sec. Let me just see. Let's see. You guys having fun? Let's see here. Let's get this up. The microphone should be good. We had our coffees. We got the water. We got Ghost of M is asking a question. I want to know how Jungle perceives his TV persona. If he feels like he has a mental game leaks, or is he just being honest when he kind of rages in live scenes? Interesting question. I talked to Jungle about this a bit. We can talk about that. We got 40 live people on a whim. We're going to be doing it. We're going to continue this, guys. We're going to knock out some questions. There's a lot of stuff I want to ask Dan, but I want to make sure we have time for you guys to get your questions in as well. And again, if you're on the podcast and you're here, don't think that you're not answering your question. This is kind of like a bonus. If you guys have an opportunity to chime in, but you can always go on Twitter and ask, and try to get to them. Try to get to the questions. So let me see if Dan needs a minute. He might need to go to the restroom. Do you want to use the bathroom for a second or no? Are you good? Okay. All right. So Dan's just wolfing down some food. We're gonna go through here, guys. It's not too late. Try to get it in. Try to get your questions in while you can. I mentioned to Dan about Steak Kings as well. We may try to get Dan to post. Would you guys want to buy a little bit of action of Dan if we ever got him on? Maybe on a cash game, like a Poker After Dark. That would be pretty fun because, Steak Kings, we were talking. He likes the idea. You can literally go on. You can buy a piece of people, generally in tournaments, but for cash games, you can do that as well. So for televised games, it's obviously easier. But I think anyone would buy a piece of Dan anytime for any game. But we're going to try to get limited it maybe for like 100K buy-in, sell a little bit. We'll talk about that if Dan's open for it. That is on Steak Kings, and we do have some action ourselves up there. We're going to do the tweet draw for 3109 tickets. You're going to get it. We're going to do that as well. But let's knock the you use the restroom, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. Dan's going to go to the bathroom, and then we're going to give you back in a second. Miss you, Jeff. What up, Dennis Sanchez? How are you, brother? Good to see you. We are going to have some streams coming up during the Power Fest here. Actually, that's what I should pull up, really. Let's pull this up, the Power Fest as well. We could log in and just see what's going on today. There's some huge events on Party Poker. I think we should do. I'm not looking to like call out Durr, you know? I'm not looking to like call out Durr and make it a scene, but I would what I would like to do is see that happen, for them to get a custom-made table on Party Poker. That'd be pretty sweet to have them finish their thing out. Good. Thanks, sending good vibes for you, man. Appreciate you, Dennis Sanchez. I appreciate you. Let's see. We're gonna just tackle through here. We're just gonna tackle on through here. Honestly, I don't even know. There's so many great questions, but 3 people are gonna win a $109 ticket on Party. We gave away the $320 ticket for Rob Young the other day. That was a great podcast. Rob wants to do once a month with us, which is definitely a treat. That'd be great. We're hoping to do that. I'm just trying to see, guys, if we can. Yeah, Dan took a little break, which, you know, he needed to eat something. We gotta eat. Gotta feed the man. All right, Dan, you ready to tackle some questions? You got a little fuel in you?
Yeah.
This has been a lot of positive vibes. A lot of people saying it's their favorite podcast yet. This is definitely enjoyable. I don't like to say favorite or not. You know, I got a lot of legends. We're gonna a lot of great podcasting, but it doesn't matter. I'm glad you guys are having fun. Let's get into it. So, Ghost of M. Make sure we're on the screen here. Can you see these? So here we go. Ghost of M, long time moderator, supporter, like a brother. He's asking, I want to know how Jungle perceives his TV persona, if he feels like he has mental game leaks, or is he just being honest when he kind of rages in live settings? Like, I guess, so we talked about this. You said, I remember, well, I'll let you answer the question, but you did mention to me you think you've gotten better with some like meditation, some other things, just kind of with emotion. But how would you answer in terms of like your TV persona and all this? Like, do you feel, how would you answer that question?
When I'm raging on TV, I'm just legit totally raging. But I have been working on that quite a bit, because occasionally I've had some bad behavior on the tables, like throwing cards and stuff like that. I've been meditating quite a lot. Actually, I should meditate more. It seems like it's had a pretty considerable effect lately. But it's hard to prove. But my behavior's gotten like a lot better since trying to work on that more actively. It has been a bit of a process. It wasn't like overnight. Stop throwing cards, and even now I throw cards occasionally. Get like really fucking tilted sometimes. But
it's got to frustrate, right? Like, yeah, like when stuff's just breaking so bad, or you're in such good spots, or you understand like a situation so well, and it's just like someone gets bailed out, or you know.
Well, it's more like it's not just that. It's more like, for example, like last winter, I was slowly losing $1 million over the week, and I'm listening to like another guy just gloat constantly, who I think's not who I'm not real. No one's really happy that he's winning for multiple reasons. It's just
I've heard of some of that. I know in Bobby's room there's
like hours of that shit.
Yeah, there's someone too, like they'll complain when they lose a hand. They're up like a lot, and they'll like lose this one hand, and like people are stuck huge, and it's like they lose one hand. It's like they were ahead on, and they're winning and running hot, and they complain or something like that.
Yeah, that's let me think. There's certain things, like if someone's losing and they whine, it doesn't bother me much at all, actually. If someone does that and whines, depending on how they do it, it's like super fucking annoying.
Right.
Actually, I personally find gloating when winning really annoying, when I think that the person's just running really hot or whatever. Or just in general, I find like people saying shit when they win much more annoying than vice versa. And,
right.
I had some. To be fair, I had some issues like that in the past, and I realized, wait a second, this is really fucking annoying. I've gotta just say nothing
right
when I win, not a fucking thing.
Someone over here in the live chat asking, would you teach your child to play poker? You said you eventually would like children, right? At some point, you think that's?
Yeah, eventually.
Would you teach them to play?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. We'll have to see what it's like in the future because...
That's true. That's a great point because they intend... Are you talking about like 15, 20 years from now, actually? That's the funny part, right? Because it's like they would be 15 if they were born tomorrow. Like you don't want them playing before that. So like in 20 years, is poker going to be a thing? Is it like... I mean, look at esports now and what's going on. Things are...
I think they should do things that would be like mentally stimulating that they're interested in.
Right.
I mean, I think that would be important at least.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, no, that's a tricky question. I wouldn't ask about that. I mean, my son's about a month out. I don't know. Like, if he's interested in poker, sure, I'll talk to him about it. But in 20 years, I mean, I might not even know what, like I might not even be someone to talk to about poker. But don't worry, I plan to be in this game for a long time. Great pod, man. Thank you, man. Would you teach? That was a question. Likewise, Dennis, good to see you. Anyone jungle feels that holds over you? Like he thinks not this guy again. I can't see anyone holding over, but curiosity. Like, so yeah, is there someone that like, not necessarily saying they're not good or they're better or worse, but just someone that like seems, because I have a couple guys, at least in like the tournament circuit or over the years that, and even some high stakes cash games where they've like run hot on me, where I'm just like, man, this is crazy. Like they win flips or they cooler me or they suck out or whatever. Is there some guy that just kind of seems to have your number, not necessarily better or worse, that just like a guy that over time has got your number?
Are you saying someone that's got your number or someone that's running really hot against you? Because those are kind of different things.
True. I guess to answer the guy's please don't call me his question. Anyone jungle feels holds over him, like he thinks not this guy again. Like I don't know however you would interpret that question, or a couple ways. I mean, I'm not asking you to say who you think's great at poker or better than you or any of that. So like because even if you did feel there was someone, you probably don't want to necessarily like say that to like give them that power.
Yeah.
So like I would just say even someone that just kind of won some big pots over you, or even historically has run well against you that you think.
I think sometimes I've like wondered. I think a lot of times when I'm playing live, in the back of my head, I'm like kind of tracking the quality of the decisions against me. Actually, some VIPs are just totally like soul, like just totally peered into my soul and really got me good. It's super random. Like just it tilts me so hard when VIPs do that. I think, did I give up like a live tell or something? I do it live. When I'm playing literally to like scan for live tells, I'm watching constantly at least my own actions to not give away live tells. I'm watching other people a bit too, but it's like mostly and more playing defense, I would say. Like I'm paying attention to how I'm shuffling the chips and how I put the chips into the pot and
right.
It's
kind of funny because you like to the point of the multi-table tournament guys or things and like not being a robot, but like there is someone especially with such an extensive online background where you're more online than live. Like you have to pay you do want to kind of be you gotta be careful with something because like there are guys that are pretty sharp about where like in a close spot they may like lean on a tell, which is it sounds kind of funny, but it's true. I mean, there is live. That is part of poker, even though it's
You should be careful, though. I don't really know how much value there is in doing that, just because. At some point it's like really hard to break down exactly like what it means when someone's like shuffling the chips and like whether they stop shuffling the chips. Of course, and whatever.
But it could be something like obvious, like where they announce their bet. Like if someone's like, I mean, generally not a pro is going to have this problem, but like if some guy could do something super weird or like funny or how he, like if they're not a professional. Like
yeah, it's more relevant when they're not a professional,
right?
Or when things are outside of someone's awareness. It's more, I think, more tells, or there's sometimes you get tells from people who are like really nervous, like that happens, but also tells happen more, I think, when people just aren't really paying attention and not trying very hard. I think when they start trying hard and thinking about all their actions and things like that, then you're not going to get too many tells. Or generally, it's good. You could get tells, but it's hard. It's harder. Let's put it that way. Against less experienced players, they give away more tells because they don't know what to think about it and stuff like that. Sometimes timing matters and stuff like that, just because, like if you, I mean. just stuff matters.
There's things. There's stuff going on.
Yeah.
Ghost of M, man, legend again. Got to get good question here. Do you have an opinion on the current trends and anti-company sentiment of players regarding rake changes, etc.? Do you think poker players have realistic expectations of poker operators? Obviously, I moved over. Myself representing, I was with Stars, now I'm with Party. Very happy, very in line with Rob Young and the movement and what's going on there, and a lot of the things I wasn't really in tune with that I now see, and I see Party Poker really kind of has the heart of the players and really doing a lot of great stuff.
Yeah,
but do you think
that's for sure.
Yeah, right. You're a Party Poker fan, or what do you like?
I'm mostly a Party Poker fan.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But in terms of, do you think players have realistic expectations? Because it is true that poker players seem to always want to. It's always they want more, and it's complaining. But like an operator, there's businesses. These sites have to make money. They have to make some decisions. Like, do you think it's realistic? To answer goes to Marco's question here on, do you think people have realistic expectations?
You know what? I actually think that's an interesting question, partly because I think what's interesting is the dynamic between poker players and the companies, and how people respond, and how, like, I think that overall dynamic is interesting, just to see like what exactly is like the fair equilibrium or whatever. Is it just should ethics come into the picture? Where does ethics fall into the picture, and like, or should companies just like purely look out for their own incentives, only to the point where they care about ethics enough where they're making money or things like that? I think that part's really interesting, but a much more complicated conversation and a much more difficult way to think about things. I think that I guess actually my answer should be a little bit relevant to what I just said. I think that poker players do have I think they have optimistic expectations, because it's a little bit of a long shot to expect a company to look out for the majority's best interest. It's like, why would they do that? Like, why? It just seems as though, you just hope that they're going to treat you well. That's just not necessarily going to be the case. And I think poker players, I think they tend to feel as though they're owed something or whatever, when that's not necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. That has a bit to do with what I said, but to say whether they are owed something or whatever because of why is really complicated, and almost like a deeper question.
We can always do multiple podcasts. Rob Young wants to come on once a month. Jungle, you're always open. We can always do this again. You're going to be coming to Miami hopefully more now.
Yeah,
we're hanging
I
out.
like Miami.
So we could always
hang out with you, and
yeah, it's good, man. We could always do more of these. So yeah, I don't want to go too deep, but I you answer the question. I think it makes sense. We don't want to go down a rabbit hole like crypto or something with like, and it's like a topic in itself. I
want to say one more thing is I think that the degree to which poker sites do get repeat business should be related to that, but I couldn't like tell you exactly like how much ethics and like really what their proper way of doing things really. I don't know the line between. I wouldn't know the line between where ethics and I would just say I don't know the line between where ethics and their own incentive comes into play. Mm-hmm. Just that they should certainly consider as far as like attracting more customers. Did I cut you off or anything?
Nope, perfect. I think that's a good answer, and it is it's a bit complex situation.
I think it's a very interesting thing to investigate, but it's also like so nebulous to like get real answers that I couldn't give concrete answers beyond those things.
Right. All right. You answered about the short deck. Obviously, you like it, and that's a popular game now, and you're in tune to it. You answered that already. Where do you feel most comfortable playing online poker or live poker, and why? Good question, Lady Floppy.
Where do I play most comfortable playing live poker? I think in Las Vegas, probably. Wherever I can get a massage.
You like to get a massage while playing?
Yeah. I'm notorious. I spend too much money on massages, maybe. I'm just constantly getting them at.
2018, how much money do you think you spent on massages? Is it even estimable? Can you estimate it?
$20,000 or something, maybe.
It's a lot.
Like over 100 million.
Should have come to the Rio Millions in the. It was less than $1 a minute there, and
Really?
yeah, it's like you'd save some money, Jungle.
Yeah, I would. I almost came, and I was just like, fuck it, I don't want to fly to Brazil and then fly to Europe and like whatever. But fly to I don't know. I just thought it was too much flying, basically.
Right.
Which
Well,
is,
you didn't know about the 80 cents a minute at the table massage.
yeah, if you told me that, I might have done it.
You might have come. Well, now you know. Did you ever think about returning to the University of Maryland to resume your studies in economics? Asks Lucas Gio.
I have thought about returning to University of Maryland, but I don't think I'd study economics because actually, at second thought, I don't think it's so useful. I think I'd be much more interested in studying business or something. Probably business. Business is really interesting to me.
Okay, great. Hag Million. You have faced the best poker professionals. Among them, you had 2 epic matches with Victor Blum and Tom Dwan. Whom do you consider a more complete player? Victor or Tom Dwan more complete? Look at this. That's a pot stirring question. Looking to choose one.
We can do some pot stirring questions that are fairly innocent.
Okay.
Like this. I like fairly innocent pot stirring questions.
Yeah, that's fun.
I kind of like pot stirring questions, but I don't like to cause it. It's just entertaining.
Listen, I'm gonna make it.
In this case, I don't mind.
Okay. So what do you think on this?
Well, in this case, I think. I'm trying to think of it. What by complete? What do they mean? They mean who's better or what?
I could contact Pagmillion on Twitter and ask, or we could just take it for what you think it's worth.
I think Victor's better in terms of sheer skill and talent or whatever. Like he's learning in a way that shows he's super aware and like very mentally invested in the game. Overall, he's better, yeah. Although he's maybe a little bit more reckless with his life decisions than Tom is. I mean, Tom's not the most clean in that department either.
Right. A
poker player is like great at making life decisions. It doesn't
depends. I just saw Victor in Brazil. He's got a nice Brazilian girlfriend. I was just with him there.
Apparently, everyone's getting. Maybe it was a good thing I didn't go to Brazil.
I told Dan when he's ready to finally, when it's all said and done, he wants to have kids and shut it down. Brazil's that seems to be a Venus trap for poker players currently. Yeah. There's a handful of my closest friends are either married, engaged, or dating Brazilians. But that's a whole nother thing. Maybe stay away from Brazil at the moment. It's not the worst thing, Dan.
I've still got something going on with my girlfriend and whatever. But it's
true.
We're in an open relationship or whatever.
Open relationship, fair enough. So that's like I said, there. Down the line, you're 29. You got time for kids and all the other serious. You haven't hit 30 yet. 32 over here. It's you got plenty of time. This question: what is your? Chris Robinson asked, what is the turning point for you in your poker career and took your game from that of a recreational player to a big-time pro? It's actually, I want to elaborate even on that question. We talked about it a bit, but when you won the tournament, you were minus 5,000 to start down. You worked McDonald's, made 1,000 for a month. Did you hop in? When did you kind of dive into the tools of the game or studying, or how did that come? I guess kind of tack onto that.
During all that time, I was studying things online and whatever. I was reading books, I read Doyle Brunson's Super System.
You read the whole thing?
Not the whole thing, just the element parts. I read Phil Hellmuth's book first, actually, with the poker animals and all that stuff.
The poker animals?
He talks about the poker animals, there's a lion and the mouse. The mouse who if the mouse squeaks, you wanna run away, or the elephant who plays loose passive.
I have not seen that. That Helmut's actually going to be one of our podcast guys coming up. How would you? But there's so many things that are coming to mind. So real quickly, how would you rate a Brunson Super System, which is sort of the Bible of poker, but obviously way long ago? How would you say some of those books, Helmut's stuff, his literature, and Doyle Brunson's in these books? Now, obviously, there's sites like Raise Your Edge, there's solvers, there's these all kinds of crazy stuff, which is where the game is today. But for a beginner, was there any merit to reading some of these old literature, or is it just so outdated it would almost maybe put you in a bad spot?
Maybe it would be just to get
a little bit of a history or a understanding of what.
It would be more entertaining than trying to look at some simulations or something. If you were taking poker to a serious level, probably you would want to study some simulations or something. If you're trying to enjoy the process of learning a little bit more, I don't think simulations are going to appeal to many people. But that's like the real stuff, is like learning how to do that stuff. Where it's just all like the pure value of learning.
Right.
It's tough. It can be quite overwhelming.
It's a complicated game these days. That's for sure. Okay,
Are
so
you showing the Munker solver?
I'm going to show them in a little bit of something that I use, and maybe you could touch on it a bit, that I've been working on it a bit. It's pretty advanced. Like, that's not something that I would say someone to, like, pop on who wants to learn poker necessarily, or do you think that someone could learn with that is that a decent way to start, or is it just too advanced?
I think that's probably too advanced. Like,
at least for, like,
people are going to
one.
look at this and think it's, like, Chinese.
Yeah. We might not even talk about that. Yeah, I may not even go into that. I just wanted to pull it up and show... that there is some other advanced stuff, but that could be something maybe after like a couple months or of some basic understanding you could then dive into.
Yeah, I think so too. But I should say that the training sites are very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That might be like in between. That would be like someone who's quite serious about learning, and they're gonna quickly refer the people to the simulations. But
right,
that's probably a good start as to these days, if someone was quite serious, to go on training sites like I'm trying to think of all the names. I know Doug Polka's got a site. I know Phil Gelfand's got a site. I know Chance has a site too.
I could show you guys. There's also the one I use. The one I use is Raise Your Edge, but that's like the Ben CB 789, Stefan Sontheimer, Fedor kind of crew.
I didn't even know those guys had a site.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are sort of the guys that I had. All this is listed below, but like Fedor gives endorsement pads, Patrick Leonard. I mean, these are. I'm trying to find where. I mean, this is a newly designed course, but yeah, that's basically like who like the main guys that they're not doing the course, but they're endorsing it, and that's like the crew. Yeah. This guy Ben CB 78. Here's some of the guys that show who have done the course. But anyway, so I mean, there's a lot of advanced. Yeah, see, there's Fedor. I mean, those are some of the bigger poker tournament guys that endorse it. But anyway, there's a bunch of this type of stuff out there, and that's the one again that I use. And the one we were talking about as well is Range Converter, which this has to do with Munker work, but these are there's more expensive, more advanced, probably someone you would need help to show you how to use it or how to apply it. It wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to get it and learn how to...
No one can just top into this and learn how to use this shit.
Right. It's intense. But this is something I use. Actually, Brian Rast and I did a YouTube video on it and explaining it in one of the spots. But anyway, I have... I have an arrangement with them. If you guys, always on my website, I do have stuff, so you can check it out. Like I have, some discount stuff. But again, I would never recommend someone. Hey, you're watching the podcast, you want to learn poker, go fire this and good luck out there. That is not what we're suggesting. So anyway, back to the question, because I get sidetracked and I get fired up, Jungle. Turning point in your poker career.
Turning point, definitely winning that tournament for $5,000. Quite a turning point, as silly as it says. I mean, I've had multiple turning points, actually. Black Friday was a big turning point, and for better or worse. Well, like a weird turning point. Mostly, probably not for better. Learning the sims, actually, studying simulations was a big turning point. I was, struggling that particular year. And then ever since studying the simulations.
What year was that? 10, 9?
No, that was in 2015.
Oh, okay.
When I had some issues, and studying the simulations really taught me a lot. Like I saw them and thought, whoa, these things are teaching me so much. This actually makes a lot of sense and whatever.
Let me ask you in this, because this is very interesting to me. You got people out there have different types of brains and learning capabilities and whatnot. Obviously, you're a highly intelligent person. No one's going to argue that. When you say learn the sims, what type of, so for myself, for example, let's just take an example. I consider myself a good poker player, knowledgeable, a lot of experience, could do a lot more work diving into the deep areas of the game. If you were to give me a blueprint, for example, what % of it is Jungleman that you're just like a genius and you can really study, understand and process information well? Because obviously you watching the information you studied and someone at home doing it, it's going to process differently or be able to apply it differently. What attributes or what makes unique for you do you think you're able to take this information and use it, say, better than other people? Because other people are using this. There's other people running sims. There's other people doing stuff that are good. Like, what do you think is that different separating factor for you? Why are you able to do so well with it? What combination? Like, how would you kind of, do you see what I'm saying? What makes you able to use information so effectively?
Good question. I think part of it is just being immersed, really. Like, I mean, yeah. I think just, at least for a while, I was like totally obsessed. Like, I'd go to sleep and think about poker every day and things like that. That would be a pretty major factor.
Give me an example. When you were studying sims or whatever, your solvers and things that you're working on, what type of day would that be? What type of percent playing and studying would you say is a breakdown? Give me like a typical Jungleman day during your time of the most study you ever did.
The most study was, I remember I put in like 100 hours or something.
A week?
No, not in a week, more like 2 weeks or something, studying PioSolver or something. Like I mapped a couple like heads up situations or whatever. And then I started running some 6-max spots for the PioSolver and thought, whoa, all these spots are totally different. I didn't play like this at all, and actually it does make sense because of this, and that. And then
that's probably, I guess, part of it, right? Understanding it. Like, it's one thing to watch and show you, then it's like, why did it work? Because then you can apply it in other spots or similar situations. If you just like, oh, this is that spot, there's like a million different scenarios, and like you're not really gonna like learn by seeing one spot. You have to like understand, why is this happening? I would understand. Like,
I mean, well, for studying that stuff, you mostly you want to run enough so that you figure out, you can start predicting what it'll do if you run a certain spot. Which at some point I predicted to some extent, but I mean, like even now, if I was to go and look into a spot, like you would definitely see some things or I would definitely like be surprised by some things and whatever.
And how much is that changing from, say, 2015, the stuff you looked at? If you looked at it right now, there's updates, there's different variations, like also population tendencies can change and stuff, spots. Like, what kind of update, like how important is that to like do a revamp or a retune like of those type of informations?
It depends how serious you're trying to take it. If you're trying to like beat the toughest games in the line, you better have your shit together and like be no sunlight, lockdown mode, and hit the simulations and have charts and shit on your computer. But if you're playing like live or playing like tournaments or whatever, I don't think it's really that important. Like that stuff is, it would get you an extra edge to study or whatever, but it would be like, I mean, you probably don't need to do it too much. If you could predict the sims a little bit, predict what they'll output, that's probably enough. And like just be conscious of like population tendencies and stuff like that.
2015. So during your peak study, percentage of studying versus playing, what would you say? Like what during like what would you say at your height of studying?
Well, I mostly didn't study, and I struggled quite a bit in 2015. It was probably mostly playing until like the end of that year, and during the end of the year I had some success.
So you basically said, you know what, this isn't working. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. You sat there, you dived out, and then you started studying and looking, analyzing some of your stuff.
Yeah.
Doing it. That's got to be a little frustrating, right?
Yeah.
To be playing, you like playing, it's fun, and now you're like, well, I'm not winning, or I'm not doing as well as I think I should, and now I have to, dive out and do that. So that takes a lot of discipline too, to be able to like really buckle in and just stop playing as much.
Yeah, it took discipline to start in the first place, and it probably takes discipline to study some more. I didn't study a super large amount of time, depending on. I studied it somewhere over 200 hours, I estimate. At least over, I'm not sure. It's less than 300, but once I started studying, I just saw that there were some things that I didn't, that I learned from it, that I thought, wait a second, this thing is fucking teaching me. this is interesting stuff.
Yeah, and that's got to be too. Part of it is like not fun to like set it up, to find the stuff, to figure out how to study effectively. Once you kind of get what makes sense and how it works, and it's really applying it, then it's like, all right, this is cool. You know, it's like a good book. Like you see a 1,000-page book, you could pick it up. It's like, oh shit, I got to start. But once you kind of get going in it, if it's really good, it's like, all right, you know. Then I would imagine, you know, I haven't done. I've done with the work of like, I haven't dived into this deep solver rabbit hole. I haven't gone, but I know the razor edge work and done some studying, done some charts, understand the game. There's a lot of different levels of what you can do, but you know, in terms of like the deep dive, you know, there's a big platform out there. I mean, there's a lot of information. Like, would you say, how would you rate yourself in that? And like in terms of some of the elite guys, there's no secret, like Bonomo, Fedor, you know, these guys that are elite players. Some of them say, like Brinkini, I know says doesn't really study much, or says he doesn't, whatever, right? But like in terms of, you would probably put yourself up there as one of the more knowledgeable and worked hard on your game, I would say. Is that fair too, or do you think it's like in terms of natural ability versus studying?
I think I already had some natural ability, to be honest. I think some people have worked like a lot harder, but you know, like no matter how much natural ability you really have, you still want to study at least a little bit. And you don't want to like rely on like what is your natural ability, because like how do you measure that? You don't know how truly natural you are if you're playing in like a competitive environment. You want to like put your best foot forward. I mean, and then even if you do have a lot of natural talent, combine that with some real effort, and then that could be like a pretty big combination. I think Justin Bonomo studies quite a bit. I don't think Fedor does that much, but I don't really know. Playing with Fedor, it doesn't seem that he studies that much, but he's got more of like the talent thing going on, I think.
Yeah, I love how you call him Fedor. I like that. That's funny. Maybe I think it's Fedor, but either way, it's funny. How you say? I like how you say it. It sounds official anyway. That's funny. What is your favorite city to play poker? Asked Peter Kasai. Favorite city. It's also kind of interesting. Is it live? Is it online? I don't know. What do you like?
Well, favorite city.
Yeah, let's just knock it
Well,
out.
is my favorite city or my favorite city to play?
Let's do both. Let's give Peter Kasai a treat, Jungle. Let's tell him both. Your favorite city for poker, your favorite city live. What's your favorite city to grind online? All of the above. Give me 3. Favorite overall city to travel to.
I like New York a lot, but it doesn't have that much poker, really.
Okay, so but a great city. I would agree. Yeah. That's one of the best. All right, what about for poker? Like, there's a stop, Barcelona, Monaco. What's like a fun?
Not Monaco.
Somewhere in China, Asia. Like, is there any stops? You're like, all right, there's a series going on. I'm going to that.
I like Montenegro quite a bit.
Everyone says that. That Triton, right? That's like a fun. That's coming up in May. That's a big one.
I don't know if that's my favorite though.
So I heard it's beautiful. Haven't been there.
It is.
Okay. So that, and then what about like to grind? If you're like, all right, I'm gonna go lock myself, good restaurants, but I can play online poker. All the sites, like anyone you like, Vancouver, Montreal, anywhere in particular that's like great to like grind poker in that you like.
Vancouver would be good. Vancouver, I've been there. It's really nice. I could imagine that being a really nice place to play online or something. That's one of the nicest cities to go to. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of contenders, really. There's lots of nice cities out there.
Yeah, for sure. Give me biggest cash game pot you've ever won and lost, both live and online. Give me online biggest pot you ever won.
I know very well the biggest pot I ever lost.
Yeah, I think that's true for everyone. I don't know if I could even tell you my biggest cash pot. I know my biggest loss, but
unfortunately I can't say the one that I've lost biggest. I can only say privately.
Okay. I'm lucky. I get Jungle. He gives like 98%, but the extra 2%. Just want to know we have that circle of trust.
I will say that in 2011 I once lost like $900,000, but that's not my biggest loss.
Was it in a session or in a hand?
That was in a session. Okay,
what about one hand? Do you know?
One hand?
The biggest loss, live or online.
What could it possibly be? I know. Not from the conventional sites. It's very clear. Let me think if I can explain it like a little bit. I don't think I want to say the amount.
Okay. You don't have to, of course. Don't. You can give maybe ballparks for either live or online. What about like live? What's the biggest live pot you've won or lost?
Surely lost live. Like, I'm sure I've lost like, no.
We stumped the jungle. Do you know how hard this is in poker? This is one that I would think you would know your biggest win or loss, like in a live cash game. You
I know
remember.
some big wins.
Just give it roughly. It doesn't even have to be the biggest. Give me like one that you remember that's like.
I remember like one where I won in like an Asian game where I 3-bet pre-flop. I think I either 3-bet or 4-bet pre-flop. The flop was like ace, like 7-7 or something, and I bet, and the guy check raises. I have aces. I'm just like, what is going on right now? And I call, and whatever. The guy goes all in. I forget how. I think I call. He's got like a 7. I just cleared the absolute shit out of him. This was a really massive game. I probably won. My personal share wouldn't have been this, but maybe the size of the pot would be like $3 million US. No, it was probably bigger than that actually. But maybe what I won was something like that.
Wow, that must have been a crazy feeling. Of aces full, like you're like wow, and you just get it, and what did that feel like to win that big of a pot? Was it a natural, like was it like a milestone moment? You're like wow, that's crazy. Like this is crazy.
A little bit euphoric, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if that's the biggest pot I've ever won. The biggest pot I ever lost was a short deck pot. And I don't want to elaborate on where.
Okay.
But it was just, or how, but it was just, I had kings, and this guy 3-bets me, and we're super deep. We're like over 200 antes deep. And the way that he 3-bets in my head, I just thought that this guy does not have aces. So I just move all in for over 250 antes deep or something insane. I don't think I would say how big this pot was, but anyway, we got all in on on pre-flop. The flop was like ace king something.
Oh my goodness!
And the turn, was just whatever. But basically, the guy had 2 outs, and they like was trying to buy insurance, and it was like whatever. I wanted to buy like small insurance, and then I don't know if I ended up buying small insurance or not because I got confused about some detail. I normally don't buy insurance, but this one was just so big that I thought I should. And of course he hits an ace on the river, and
get ace queen or something. Or ace,
get ace king.
Ace king.
Ace king versus kings in short deck isn't like small. It's like he's got like 43% or something.
Oh
like
really?
That.
So okay.
So I got it in with 57% equity.
But after the flop, you were in pretty damn good shape.
That pot was very painful. It makes me think actually some of the biggest wins must have been bigger than what I told you, but I don't remember specifically, and maybe they were in similar games, basically.
Okay, that's fair enough.
This one was bigger. This one was much bigger than $3 million. I would say that.
What about the tilt, like in that, like the high, the low? You must. I mean, that's got to be like the feeling of winning versus that. Like it's
that one hurt a little bit, but it's kind of like stuff like that doesn't. What tilts me a lot more is if I make like a big mistake, rather than like just something really unlucky. Like that was really unlucky, but it was so big that it was like, oh fuck.
That would have been a nice one to get.
And it also helped that I was winning that day.
Okay.
So
yeah, it wasn't like
I was running pretty hot overall.
Damn. How do you think you've run overall EV wise, like in poker, like from like your expected EV? Like
I think maybe somewhat hot. It's hard to say. No, I think I've run somewhat hot. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because at like really big games, I think I run pretty hot.
All right, Ghost, I'm asking, what do you think? Sorry, we're taking a lot of Ghost FM questions, but that is our lead mod, and him and Vadran get triple gold star. We're gonna take some more of this stuff. Jungle's very thorough. I love his answers, but we're not gonna get to answer everyone's questions because there are a lot. We could always do a. I mean, this is just too many. So we're gonna scroll through these. But quickly, I want to ask as well. What do you think about the fact that people are afraid of bots in the games? Do you think it's a real risk to online poker today? Is it overblown or a big problem for the future? I mean, again, Rob Young just said 10,000 bots removed on Party. It's pretty scary, but it's also that's reassuring. But it's scary to think there's that many that got removed and like where that's going on. So what's your feeling on bots in poker and just overall?
I think they're definitely a threat. Definitely don't want to be playing with bots, and I think Party Poker's taking good steps to remove the bots. Party Poker's done a good job of that. I think PokerStars has actually done quite a good job of cleaning up the games as well, even though it's like a little bit understated. That I think specifically poker Party Poker does. I mean, Poker Stars does very well. Yeah, those are definitely a threat, and bots are real. There's bots posing as people on the internet all the time. You gotta watch out.
All right, there you go. You heard it. What would make you say it's too high to play 1-2 live with the 200? What rake would you say? Oh, interesting. About the rake question. What do you think it was for a live cash game? 1-2, $200 buy-in. What percent would you say is too high to play a rake game?
Percent of
what rake would you say? Like for
so, in I think get the like a live game maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Live.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the raking. So 10. I would think if they're raking something like over $10 an hour, that's like pretty high rake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean there aren't going to be too many winners if the rake's over $10 an hour.
Okay.
I guess there could be some winners, but not by that much.
Mm-hmm. What is the high biggest? We just answered that. Biggest ever loss in one session? I mean, that's kind of like the biggest cash pot, I guess.
I know my biggest loss, I think. Well, actually, I've probably lost... yeah, the one loss I gave is kind of good. I've probably lost over $1 million in a couple sessions, too, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. What's your plans for the WSOP this summer? You going to be in Vegas? The games, playing cash, tournaments, a little everything?
I'll be in Vegas, yeah. I'll be playing cash as usual.
Yeah, but what tournaments might you play? Will you hop in like one of the 50Ks or 100K tournament just to...
There's one tournament there's like one 50K tournament, the Poker Players Championship. It's like a big ego battle between the Bobby's Room guys. They all like bet against each other and things like that.
So you'll play that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're playing more cash games with some tournaments.
Yeah.
More cash.
Some tournaments. I don't like them too much, but whatever.
Someone just asked, we did cover this, how long do you think the Dirt Challenge will last? I mean, so if you had to bet today, what's the odds that it finishes officially? Do you think it'll finish or no?
I think it will finish officially.
You will. So where would you...
I would bet high odds it'll finish officially. But it depends on what officially is.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I'll ask you, do you think that the 50,000 hands get played online? Does that go
I don't think that will happen. No, I think there's a low chance. But I think there's a high chance it will get settled. Like a very high chance.
But you would be open if Party Poker made a dome or a Jungleman or a Jungleman.
I mean, you have to get the guy. Like he said, he says he wants to play and then he just doesn't do it. So what am I going to say? I can't make him play or anything. But yes, of course I want to play. And
would you be good with that if Party Poker was the official? He's in the Triton stuff. He plays over there. Party Poker and Triton are tied together. You would be okay if it was on Party Poker. There was a arena made for you.
Of course, yeah.
You and Dirt to finish your 50,000 challenge. You would accept that?
Yeah, for sure, 100,000,000%. What I want to play. I was winning. I won 1.4 million in like 20,000 hands. I want to win. I want to win the rest.
All right. I like you. I like what I know about Dirt. There it is. Party Poker. Let's get a table set up to finish the 50,000 Jungleman Dirt challenge. You accept that if we can get that done?
Fuck yeah! Of course.
All right, you heard it first. Let's see if we can make that happen. There you go. So let's see if that happens. How much do you think Phil Hellmuth is actually worth? That's a question. Eric Beck. Wow, Eric Beck just calling out Hellmuth for a net worth shot. What do you have? This guy, net worths are kind of funny in poker, but like what do you think? Well, give me your Hellmuth. Hellmuth he's such a special guy as well. What's your Hellmuth? Give me a little Hellmuth story, or what's your take on Hellmuth and his game, or anything? Like, are you a Hellmuth fan? You get a beer with him? Are you guys buddies? Do you think
I'm a little bit of a Hellmuth fan. I mean, I think his poker antics are a little bit ridiculous, but he's otherwise quite a nice guy. I would actually say he's very nice in person.
Yeah, me too. I would too. He's special, but I just spent some time with him in Rio. We get to hang out every now and again. I always enjoy his time. He is definitely this very unique and interesting person.
I think his his little media stunts or whatever you'd call them are pretty entertaining too.
Yeah, most of them
He comes in and he's like the poker king
doing
like,
samba or some ridiculous thing.
I think one time he was walking in with like a bunch of girls carrying him on wearing like a crown and like a
Caesar's like type thing.
Yeah,
for the World Series.
I don't remember. Maybe it was for the World Series, but I feel like I remember that one.
So someone asked, what do you think he's actually worth? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a personal question / like remark. I don't know. I feel like that could get taken out of context, whether, but yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you want to answer that. Probably.
That one I really don't know.
Yeah, that's
I think it could be. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Should I answer that?
We could get back to it. I'm not. I think it's funny, just like someone randomly asking someone's net worth. I mean, it's kind of like a funny question, right? Because it's like if you say something, it could take it the wrong way. Like if you guessed and it's like lower than what it really is, you might think, oh, you're selling me short. But I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. Well, you don't need to answer that.
Could tilt Phil.
Yeah. We could leave it. We don't need to do that one. Think about it. We'll come back to it. What's the background behind your Jungleman name? We already did cover that. You mentioned that. You got that nickname back in the day. You used to have more hair. And someone just gave you the name Jungleman. It rhymes. Yeah. Jungleman Dan. I like it. Mm-hmm. It's stuck. Are you excited about the future of poker? From Adam Beck.
Hopeful is more the right word. Excited? I am excited about new markets possibly opening up. Like
which ones in particular?
Just other markets in Asia.
I heard Japan's coming in 2020 or 2021. That's like going to be live.
Yeah.
Official, I guess.
I hope that happens because I like Japan. I like to go to Japan and whatever.
I agree with that. Who's your favorite player to play heads up back in the day online?
Tom Dwan.
Tom Dwan.
I mean.
All right. That's fair enough. There you go.
By the way, I should say that Victor Blom had my number, so to speak, online for a while. The Swedish players had like the Swedish factor playing against me. I like that. They somehow would just like, a couple Swedish players just would like get me to do stupid stuff because like some of the things they did were like a little bit silly themselves, and I would just like kind of emotionally react because their plays were just so tilting that I would like start to do other stupid things back and try to like beat them in dumb ways. Bags Jorvin had my number for heads up.
Who?
This guy. Rob Flink, that people probably haven't heard of him. He is a Swedish player. He crushed me at heads up. He was the one who beat me the most by far. Like I don't think I lost 15 binds to anyone ever. And then he beat me by like 35, and I just gave up. I finally gave up. He was the first guy I gave up. Him and Victor, I gave up at certain points in time against.
Is he still playing or no? Did he?
Yeah, he's still playing. He's playing like short deck and whatever.
What's his name online, or does he not have an alliance? Or back then, what was it?
Bags Hjorven. It means something like piece of shit in Swedish.
Interesting.
Bags Hjorven 87, I believe.
Okay, I don't remember that guy. Favorite snack at the poker table?
Snack.
What fuels Jungleman? What is your go-to? It could be an endorsement opportunity, guys. He's coming back. Social media's popping up. He's all over the place. Got Jungle. Who do you like? Give us a candy bar, a snack, a thing, a treat, an acai. What do you like?
Speaking of which,
you hungry?
I'm a little hungry.
We're gonna order again.
I was eating like pistachio ice cream, which I was notorious for. But I decided to eat less ice cream over time. Decided to go to the gym more and start drinking iced tea and things like that.
All right. Who taught you the game? Who taught you poker? Self-taught, or is that fair to say? Is there anyone that kind of helped you a little bit?
A lot of people helped me over time.
A lot of friends and discussions.
Originally, for No Limit Hold'em, it was mostly self-taught, essentially, or like I watched card runners videos or whatever. What else? Mostly Hold'em I was self-taught, but a bunch of people taught me all sorts of things for other games. It definitely, and who taught myself changed over time, depending on the situation or whatever.
Okay, fair enough. How to deal with moving in tournaments? I don't know what you mean, moving like table changes. I mean, it actually does tilt me, but it's just part of the game. But I guess I don't know if that's what you mean. Deal with moving. I can't say. It looks like a foreigner here. I don't really know how you would interpret that. I don't know what that means. It's
exactly
hard to.
know what that means.
I'm gonna skip it. What's it like being the GOAT? What's it like being the greatest of all time at poker? Which is a fun thing, you know. What do you think? How would you answer that? Be called the GOAT? Does that when you hear it?
Called the GOAT.
You like that, right?
Who doesn't like to be called a GOAT?
Right. Yeah, it's a good thing. What is it like? Is it cool to hear people say that, or that you get that sometimes, or you're regarded as one of the top elite?
I get that. I don't know. It feels good, except a different sort of problem happens where you don't get much action. And it's just harder to play games, things like that.
Right. Do you want to give a shout out to your grandma, who said you couldn't bluff? Do you want to tell your grandma? Do you want to send her a message, or no? Do you want to?
No, I don't want to rub it in. It's too much. She's not watching this, but
no, not rub it in. Just give her a little shout out. Like maybe she motivated you. Maybe that little extra nudge. She said you couldn't bluff, and then you are pulling $1 million bluffs and big crazy pots now. You know, it's got to be cool, man. That's got to be cool. But yeah, Grandma Jungle probably is not going to catch this podcast.
No,
That's
I don't think so.
Safe to say, she won't get it. But anyway, your grandma, she did tell you couldn't bluff at one point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Where'd you get your nickname Jungle? We've talked about this a few times, guys, so that's already been answered. What's your longest poker session? Ooh, interesting question.
That actually is a good question.
It's a great question, Gabrielle.
It's 72 hours.
Wow.
A live session in Asia where the guy who plays doesn't like to sleep very much, and he likes to play very long hours, or the VIP, I should say. And I think I got like 1 or 2 hours sleep in between, but otherwise.
Like a nap at the table, or like you went and laid down on the couch, or.
I think I went up to my room and took like a couple naps because I thought we were gonna play it for very long. Although on another session playing with this guy, I like couldn't stay awake, and he let me like sleep in the casino with my own bed on the chairs of. I would just make like a bed out of the chairs of the casino, like in the same room. He let me sleep for 1 hour. And
he didn't sleep either?
No, he didn't sleep. He thought it was funny, I guess.
That's hilarious.
I was trying my best to stay awake, but I just like couldn't do it.
You couldn't Phil Lockett for like 116 hours or whatever. You know he did that. You remember that?
No, I didn't know he did that much.
Oh yeah, Phil Lock. Google world record. He had the world record. It was like literally 5 days almost. 72, 96, 4. Yeah, it was like 112 or 116 hours awake. Playing, had to book a winning session. It happened at the Bellagio. No drugs, no caffeine, no nothing.
Oh wow! I don't know if I could. How the fuck did he do that?
Yeah, he said Phil Lock actually told me he'll be a podcast guest, guys. That's for sure. He told me he actually had to stop because he wasn't tired and he got like scared. You know, like at some point, like if you just like it's never been done, right? It's like you don't know that, right? It's like the unknown. So like if you just trigger into the oblivion and you just like never go to sleep, you could die. Like they actually took down the Guinness Book of World Records for this. Someone stayed awake like 13 days or something, and they had to like take it down because I think someone died or it's like got unsafe, right? Because like it's just like you go crazy or something. 40. So anyway, but yeah. What are your favorite players to sit at the table with? Again, this is sort of open, and I guess you could take it as like favorite because you like to play with them, or favorite because they're fun, entertaining, and just maybe they're good for the game or bring action. Who do you like to play with?
Gus Henson, I guess. Gus is very entertaining to play with.
Scott Curtis asks, okay. Fair enough,
yeah, he's a lot of action too.
Great. B-Dog says, can't wait. Well, you're here. Does Dan play online at all or just live? Well, that's funny because he's the biggest online winner of all time, so I guess that answers that. Yeah. You play mostly, you said 85-15 maybe online to live?
Oh, 85-15 cash games to tournaments.
Oh, okay.
Online to live, these days, no. I might even play more live these days.
Okay. So it's closer to 50-50?
Something like that these days, because like Poker Stars is much worse these days to play on for high stakes. Like there's much better action in Bobby's room in Bellagio or like in some games in the East, in Asia, and some games on Party Poker, but not too much.
Okay. Seems like your play confuses a lot of top players at times. What do you think about poker what is it about poker that you see it as such a different way than the rest of the nosebleed section of players? So yeah, what separates you from the nosebleeds, or what do you think some ways you look at the game differently than other players? Without obviously giving like a trade secret per se, but like what kind of how do you look at it maybe in a different perspective?
I think these days the ways that I look at it isn't that different from the top players.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're mostly on the same page, I would say. Yeah, I don't know.
Like when you match up with like some of the other elite players, you bump heads in Bobby's room or other places or in a game, and like someone's really good. Like on that given day, you're saying there's probably not too much that would separate you per se. You might be better at playing someone else one-on-one. Like you're better to exploit or be better playing somebody, or maybe better in the game. But actually versus like one mano a mano with some other great player, it's like may not be.
Well, it's like it's gonna come down to some like fairly subtle differences in approach and like general strategy. I think that matters a bit. Sometimes other things matter to some extent. Like if you're playing live, maybe live tells will matter a little bit or something like that. But it will generally, against top players, it's just it's gonna come down to details of each game or whatever that you're playing in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like some one thing. With the top players, with players that aren't at the top, I would be able to answer this question a bit more, but not so much at the top players.
Okay. Can you explain how to play the reverse flip in Bellagio's Bobby's room?
The reverse flip is where everyone puts in some money, and one person pays everyone.
It's pretty sick. So let's say everyone puts in 1,000 or what, 10,000.
Well, we were doing 5 or 10,000.
All right, so say 10,000 a man. There's 10. Just say 10 people. Make it easy. 100 grand's in the middle.
Yeah.
One guy's gonna pay someone. So the reverse flip. If you win, if you get high card, ace of spades, or however you do it, the guy who wins actually pays everyone the 10K.
Yes.
So you're losing 100.
Yeah. We didn't actually do 10K for some reason.
5K.
We didn't do 10K if there were like 8 people. We didn't do 10K. At least not that I was aware of.
So basically, you win, you lose. You hit, you're the one. You win the flip, you actually pay.
Yes.
And only one person pays, and everyone gets it.
Yeah.
So it's like extra tilt, but most people win. That's actually a fascinating way of doing it. How did you run in those? Did you ever lose or no?
Of course. We played enough that I lost some, but it's not like that big of a deal for 5K in that game, because in that game, I thought they played it too small, but in that game, like it was not unusual. Like you could lose like 150K in one pot or something like that. Like
so it was like losing a third of a
40K.
pot or something. You're losing 50K. Okay, interesting though.
But it's a funny idea. I like the idea.
Someone's asking about why you folded here. I'm not going to pull up the clip per se, but the King of the Hill versus Helmuth. Oh, this is that one where he came back and then he won or something.
Yeah,
and then
that's
what it was. So there's a big old fold or something.
Me.
Okay. All right. I don't know the end of it.
I mean, I can answer the question.
I don't even know
it's
how
probably
to
one of the most tilting folds of all time.
I think I actually remember it. I don't remember it. I just remember it being like insane hand, like a big fold, and Helmuth made like some crazy bluff, right, or something.
It was actually a good bluff for him.
And it was to end the match.
I mean, I think his bluff was clearly plus EV against me on that river.
You would have ended, right? You would have won the whole thing.
I think I know the whole. You know what? I think I know why he did it too. Is the really tilting thing? Yeah, I would have won the whole thing. If the river wasn't hard, I was calling, and I just thought like on that river he has no bluffs. That's basically what I thought. Even when I was doing the thing on the turn, even when I was betting, I thought he might raise me for a certain reason, and I just like totally ignored that reason for some reason, just because usually it's not a reason that people do things for, but I'm pretty sure that's why.
It's pretty amazing. Helmuth had like a massive under lead, or was either versus Polk as well, or maybe both of you, or at least to you, where he was like a massive underdog. I actually remember pulling it up briefly and seeing he was like 10-1 or 12-1 or something, right? Crazy. Yeah. Like he had a huge deficit. It was basically, and he's arguably you and Doug are probably two of the better heads-up players in the world. And Helmuth, you would imagine,
two of the better ones. Yes.
Yeah, and Helmuth's odds of winning that 4-man thing is probably pretty low. Even though Helmuth's obviously one of the most successful tournament players of all time, great player in his own right, but like playing versus you guys, you have to think you have a pretty significant edge, probably.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and also when you're playing like a heads-up shootout, like many of the aspects of tournament play don't even come in. They don't really apply. Yeah. It's just basically a cash game. He's just playing cash games with the best fucking heads-up players.
Right. So yeah, that's got to be even more just kind of like a frustrating thing too, because he gets so, and almost saw how much, not even you to lose, but like how much joy Phil's gonna get out of this, like the comeback and the story and it's part of that. So
and there wasn't as much gloating as I thought.
Right, which is do you think this way Scott Seaver reacted to your mistakes at the Party Corp Premier League? I was in that Premier League 7. I think must be what we're talking about. Was fair? Do you still get a chuckle when you think of him folding the 8s on the flop and missing and turning a set after your check out of turn prompted Antonio to bet? I vaguely remember this. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I do remember Seaver got pretty emotional. do you remember this?
Too. He accused me of cheating or something. He said it's like cheating or something.
Seaver's very fun at the table. Seaver's way of delivering. He really goes for blood. He really tries to spark people. I've seen him do it. Seaver's funny to me. He's in our Burning Man camp, and I know Scott. Whatever, fairly well, but not one of my core friends. I know Scott, but do you remember that? What do you think on this? How do you feel about? Because you battle with Seaver in mixed game and high stakes, and you play with him a lot. You know Scott well.
Yeah.
Do you have any words on Seaver in this particular case, or just in general, his antics?
His antics in general he has some. His antics are entertaining, although I constantly. More so in the past, wavered in between trying to fuck back with him. Except I realized that if I did that, I would end up going to war with him because he'd just fuck back with me.
Right.
That would definitely be his response. Mm-hmm. Or trying to basically do
neutralize
things,
and
neutralize him and just basically make peace with him so that he stops doing that.
Right. He's obviously so intelligent too. He's one of those guys who can really try to fuck with you and
He'd be better at fucking with me. I think he would be better than fucking with me
than you would.
Except I can see that he is actually quite vulnerable to it himself, especially when he's losing. He's totally ridiculous compared to whatever.
Fair enough. All right. Well,
yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That's funny because I was in that Premier League as well. I remember that. That was actually a lot of fun. That Premier League 7 in Montreal at Playground Poker. Have you ever had moments in your life decide you would never play poker again? If you had such moments, what was the motive for you to play poker again? So was there ever a time where you said, you know what, I'm good, I'm not going to do it? Maybe around 2015 when you were downswinging or things weren't going well, did that ever cross your mind? Or was it even just no, I'm going to fix this? Or you love poker. Did you ever think you were going to stop playing, or you might?
Maybe a little bit. I would like to do something a little bit bigger than poker, but at some point. It's a matter of how much I want to pursue ambitions or whatever, or do something with my life or something, compared to how much do I want to relax. It's more whether I quit poker would be based off of that. But I like poker generally, so
yeah.
I don't think I'd quit anytime soon.
Yeah, you might maybe just play a little less and do some other stuff too, but still always keep it in your life. Fair enough. What are your 3 most valuable tips to crush online MTTs? Felix Van Tatish asks. I guess you don't play probably too much tournaments, but you say once in a while you dabble or you'll fire a schedule here and there online. It's fun. You like tournaments sometimes, right? Maybe it's good for a little balance or to switch it up or do it. If there's some big prize pools during a Power Fest or some series online.
Yeah.
Any tips out there? It's a quick to crush. I don't know. Is there any tips that maybe you think that you could give to someone that less tables, be more focused, timing tells? Do you have any cool timing tells for either online, live, or MTTs that someone could think of?
No, not really. I think one thing that would matter a lot is just focus on ICM, because I know that people do not use ICM, or they don't apply ICM properly in tournaments at all. There's a lot of potential in that, I think, and that's not so easy. Other than that, that's probably the biggest thing, is learn that well.
Great. What do you think of VR? Virtual reality poker. Have you tried any of these VR pokers or any of it?
Is there VR poker?
Yeah, they have some stuff out there. It's kind of cool, but it's it's interesting. If you haven't tried it, I guess you wouldn't really know. But there's what do you think about the future of VR? Do you think that could be a thing with poker?
I think VR definitely has a future at some point. At some point there will be for sure virtual reality games. I don't know if VR poker has much of a future. Why would you play VR poker?
You could sit and play like you and I. We can, instead of this beautiful table here, playing heads up versus each other. We could be doing that, but you could be in Hong Kong. I could be here, but we could actually be playing each other, holding chips, throwing chips, doing anything, talking to each other, but like actually like we're here together. So I've seen it actually work where it's pretty impressive.
But I have to see it.
Yeah, it's a lot because it's like one of those things that it has to be adoption. Everyone has to have it. It's complicated. It's still like you're putting a thing over your head. It's kind of weird, Yeah, it's a bit of a process, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know what kind of future that has actually, because I don't know. I just think if you want to play live, you're gonna play live, right? Like virtual reality is not going to make up for that. And then if you want to play online, you're gonna play online because of the person playing online.
It's kind of caught in no man's land. It's like kind of like in the middle of both things.
Yeah.
Question here, something about a spot. It's a bit complex we're not gonna do that. Question for the other side, Dan. Can you tell us more about your private life? More, if it's not a secret, where do you live right now? Do you have a wife, kids, maybe, etc., etc.? We got a sizzling woman coming in asking some questions. So I don't know. Again, I don't like, it's up to you. Is there anything you can share on that? Like, are you, in terms of living, are you traveling a lot? Are you in one spot? Mostly I know you live in Vegas, I guess, but
my address is in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I am traveling all the time though. I'm there like 3 months of the year, and I am traveling between Asia. I'm in Asia a lot for poker. Like in Hong Kong, and I like Japan. I would like to go to Japan more. I'm quite a bit in Europe too lately. I'm in an open relationship with my girlfriend for like 6 or 7 years, 6.5 years, I believe, and I'm like constantly on the move and still like exploring places and whatever.
Right.
Still doing some living and going on some adventures and stuff.
Awesome. The 29, man. Do that for sure. All right, I'm just gonna. So first of all, this is a record long podcast. We have got some unbelievable questions and stuff. Dan, I know you got a lot to do today. I do wanna. I don't. We can always do this multiple times, right? This is Dan. I think that's safe to say Dan is a fan favorite. Easily, we could do multiple podcasts, so that would be fun. I don't want to. We need to do some crazy. We don't need to go for the world record podcast. So we've hit a nice stent here. Let's take a couple more questions, and I'll let you get going on your day, and then we could always come back for more podcasts. So, do you have anything?
Yeah, we should.
We'll wrap it up here. Let's do maybe one more. Someone's asking when you lost your virginity. That's when does Dan like most about playing? What game you prefer playing most in poker? Let's leave it on that. That's a good question. So, what's your favorite game to play in poker? What's your go-to? Like, not take away. Maybe it's the most profitable or the most popular. What's like personally you're like, oh, this is fun. I want to play this game. I'm looking forward to this playing.
Full deck Nulliman Hold'em. I still think Nulliman Hold'em's one of my favorites. It's one of my best games, and I think it's the game that has the most skill in it. So, I prefer to focus more on the skill side. Maybe some people like the gambling side more, but yeah, that's just me.
All right, and 8-game, obviously you love 8-game, right? You play the 8-game well, and
yeah. If you call like 8-game something, I like playing 8-game a lot. It's just games constantly changing, and it's never boring. 8-game's always fun. It's playing 8-game live is one of the more fun things, and it's more shorthanded. So, yeah, if I had to pick between those two, I prefer mixed games. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. Mixed games are a lot of fun.
Okay. And where are people going to see you? So give us as we close out here, coming up here, 2019, we're coming up into April. Today's actually the 1st of April. Yeah. Where will they find you? They can get you on Twitter. I'm going to go through this quickly, where they can find you. They can find you on Instagram. Looks like you've been kicking up your Instagram game, getting some cool posts, and you put some stories up.
I've been putting up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's opening up. You got the Twitter on here. Look at that. You gave us the retweet yesterday. For that, we got his Hen and Mob, over $6 million in tournament earnings, which not even a tournament player because he doesn't play a lot, but when he does, it's usually big and fast and nice. Some nice scores there. We got the 3 thing. We got to do this, Dan. So we're gonna close out. But tell us while I load up this retweet giveaway, guys. This is gonna be a chance for you to win 3 109 tickets. We're gonna do this very quickly, and we're gonna close it down because Dan's got to run. But this is the tweet. So this is how it works, Dan. This if you were ever to start streaming, because you said there's a possibility for Twitch. That's that's on the horizon. I think we got enough people that want to do it. We're going to do this. Guys, give you a second to retweet still, even though closing up. This will be up on my podcast channel on YouTube. And the range converter, quickly, this is the stuff we're not going to dive into, but a little bit more munker, deeper solvers. If you go to my website, Jeff Gross Poker, you can see the stuff I use, razor edge, range converter. These are different type of things. Some of the stuff you can check out on there as well. But so we just copied that. We're going to go here, and we're going to paste this. So Dan, tell me when. This is for a 109 ticket on Party Poker. There is a Party Poker Power Fest tournament going on, Dan. 2 weeks, big guarantees, big prize pools. We're going to give away 3 109 tickets for this right now. So tell me when. This will be the first one. Tell me when. I'm going to draw. Someone's going to win a 109 tweet on your finger.
When?
Boom. So there's one. Lucas Gio. I know he answered his question as well. Look at that. Lucas. That's one. Dan, let's just rapid fire these because I know you got to get going. Tell me when.
When?
Oh, boom. This is number 2. Maxi Armenio. Going to win one. He's got... Look at that. Just right up top. There it is. Dan Jungleman Cates, the biggest online poker winner ever. And one more, Dan. We're going to do one more. 3 people on Dan's watch are going to win a 109 ticket. That's what? $327 in value on the Flow Show, on the podcast. Tell me when, Dan.
When?
Just like that. There's no waiting. Sizzling Women. She was curious about what's going on with the jungle. And Jungle... Gonna go ahead. Look at energy, man. She was one of the questions asked. One of the more Party Poker. Party Poker and Jungleman making things happen. Sizzling Women. Go ahead, Dan. Just giving out to the people. Good for you. That is a bink for that. And I think that's gonna basically wrap it up. We've just been knocking out some podcasts. Dan, is it safe to say that would you be a future guest on the Flow Show? Did you enjoy yourself on the podcast today?
Yeah, I would like to flow more on the Flow Show.
You'd like to flow more on the Flow Show. I love to hear that. I know everyone at home would love it. It's been a treat. Dan really did answer pretty much all the questions, guys. I know Instagram, we have a bunch as well. Apologize if we didn't get there, some of those, but Dan has been a very gracious person for the podcast today. He was on time. Before 10 a.m. We did start a little late. I gotta get I'm a little rusty on my podcast game. I'm just getting into it. This is early in my podcast career. I gotta get here earlier. Everything set up, ready to go. Dan was here before 10. We did order some food. We did get a couple things situated, but Dan's very punctual and I love that. That was great. This is a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it again. The biggest takeaway from today: Party Poker. Gonna try to get a DUR. Maybe we should just have the table up. Maybe we should just make the DUR Party Poker room available, and it's like it one step closer. If there's like an official place to have it, maybe that could be something good to have, where it's like available and ready. Only you guys could log in, only you could play, and maybe it's just sitting there and you never know.
Yeah, well, again, I'm happy and waiting for DUR to do something along those lines, but
okay.
Yes, actually, yeah.
Very fair enough. We'll leave it at that. This is, again, we're not trying to stir the pot too much. We're having fun. This is great, really educational. Pleasure, Dan. Thank you for coming here. You flew from Vegas to Miami. I mean, not only for the podcast, but you did want to come down here, check it out, hang out, have a good time, and hopefully we'll see you more in Miami. And thank you for coming. And we'll be in touch, and we'll be talking, and we'll hopefully do this again very soon, if not live online, maybe a couple months down the road. We'll check in and see where you're at and what you're up to in 2019. So thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure. Daniel Jungleman Cates, everybody, thanks for being here. We'll see you soon, and good luck to all of you out there if you're playing the Power Fest. Congrats to those ticket winners that we just sent out, and we'll be back for another podcast very soon. And I will be streaming on Twitch. I got a studio set up in the Bahamas, going to be back and forth. Got my baby boy coming, but I will be doing some flowing on Twitch here for the Power Fest. So we'll see you soon on Twitch. And Dan, big thanks to him. See you soon. All right.